with Karsten Kroon.
Etappe 14, de langste individuele tijdrit van deze Giro. Een hele belangrijke dag voor de klassementsrenners.
Well, the longest individual time trial of this Giro. A very important day for the contenders for the GCs. It's a difficult one. 34 kilometers on a hilly parcours. In total, the cyclists have to overcome about 650 meters of elevation with lots of corners. As you can see, one turn after the other, making it hard to get into a rhythm. The first 6 kilometers are flat but lead up to a muro, a wall, of about a kilometer with a maximum gradient of 15%. Try that on a time trial bike. It's followed by a short descent on an easier part, but it keeps going up and down with lots of turns. The road keeps rising until about 3 kilometers before the finish. At that point, the riders will be at 322 meters of altitude. It's followed by a tricky descent with final rising part until the finish line. So today, an individual time trial of 34 kilometers, a lot of climbing, really difficult to find a rhythm.
Veel hoogtemeters, moeilijk om in je ritme te komen.
This is what it looks like. 3 time checks, very similar after that climb to the one we had a few years ago. So we cast our minds back 5 years to Valdobbiadene, and we return with a shorter time trial this time. Hillier though, and more difficult. And it's all coming up.
Grande Diego, grande.
Well, Diego Lisi winning the stage yesterday. Strange sprint, wasn't it, in the end? We're all waiting for Joao Almeida being led out by Mikel Honoré after the great work that Knox and Masnada had done. The 2 riders who were climbers, that was one of the rides of their life. Brendan McNulty was looking good, but he was leading out Diego Lisi. Difficult decision, that one, I imagine, for UAE Emirates, given the fact that McNulty's up there on GC, but Lisi, the best finisher, proving it yet again, and doing so to win an 8th stage in his career at the Giro. He's now won as many stages as Marco Pantani in the Giro d'Italia. One more than Vincenzo Nibali. And this is who've won stages so far. It all started with Filippo Ganna, didn't it? Diego Lisi again after that, before he doubled up yesterday. We've had De Mar winning 4, Caicedo and then Narvaez, the Ecuadorian pair. But the Italians have had a really good home Giro this year, and they're hoping to continue that as it goes on. Joao Almeida still in pink. And in Portugal, as I said, they are starting to believe. This is the lead, and this is the top 10 in the GC. Expect changes today. We have a time trial, of course. Joao Almeida, though, you'd have to say one of the favourites for stage victory. Will he extend his lead? That's the question. Or will Kelderman turn back the clock to his own best time trialling days? Arnaud De Mar, well, almost a day off for him today. Trying to get round, and his lead is a pretty good one still over Peter Sagan in the Maglia Ciclamino. Blue jersey on the back of the mighty duck. Felipe Caicedo started wearing it. It's now Ruben Guerreiro who has it, and has one more point to his lead now. It's 11 over Giovanni Visconti. White jersey also on the back of Joao Almeida, and this is an image that we haven't really seen since the start of the race. The extra podium presentation he has to do every day, because it's always been worn by another rider. Jay Hindley is the man riding it and wearing it for them. Today we're in Prosecco country, in the northeast of Italy, between Conegliano and Valdobbiadene. Conegliano to Valdobbiadene. It's stage 14 of the Giro d'Italia. It is time trial day, and the most important time trial in the race, certainly with its difficulty. Of course, if it comes to Milan very close, that may change. But for now, a huge day. Who's going to be in pink at the end of it, though? Let's have a look back first to yesterday when the pink jersey was fighting for the stage win.
Campionati europei, in carriera ha vinto la Milano-Sanremo e la Milano-Torino. Gli applausi.
Good goal, Brandon. Really good, Diego. Really good. Really good, good. Qui, Diego, qui. Grande, Diego, grande.
Delight for Diego Ulisi. We'll talk a little more about Ulisi as the day goes on. Not sprinter, he's not pure climber. He's not really a GC man. What is he? Well, we certainly know that he is a stage winner at the Giro d'Italia, and a prolific one at that. As many as Marco Pantani now, more than Vincenzo Nibali himself. 8 stage wins, and Mark Cavendish of the active riders in the world has more. The beautiful Prosecco hills of Conegliano and Vallobbiadene is where we have the stage today. Ooh, looks rather good, doesn't it? A bit of that accompanied by a tipple later on for the stage winner. Conegliano looks a real picture. Who's going to be in that picture with the pink jersey in just a few hours' time? We're in the province of Treviso. It's stage 14 of the Giro d'Italia. Conegliano and Vallobbiadene, and all the roads between are painted pink. It's 34.1 kilometers of a TT. It's a tough test against the clock between the Prosecco Superiore hills. First rider on the start list today is Jonathan Dibben. The Maglia Nera, the black jersey, the last man of the Giro d'Italia. 143rd out of 143. All ready to start. 3 hours, 9 minutes, 48 seconds behind. And he's the first man to get his day out of the way, back on the bus, and to watch a GC fight, Brian Smith. That should be a brilliant watch today.
Should do, and it's a very interesting route for this time trial. We've already heard from some of our experts, the Dutch expert Karsten Kroon, and you know, there was talk a little bit of bike changes, possibly kind of double bike changes because of the wall, because the maximum gradient, it does go to 19%. But that's the place we'll get to the first checkpoint. There'll be 3 checkpoints on the course today, so it'll give us an indication of how the riders are doing. But yeah, it has to be a big battle now for the GC riders. We do have some time trial specialists, and let's see how Ghana does. He could be winning today and winning his 3rd stage.
X-man off is Guy Sagiv, last-minute adjustment for the Israeli star. He's the road national champion, but not the time trial national champion, so he's back in the Israel Startup Nation jersey. Everybody going off at 1-minute intervals right now. And he's on his way. Following Jonathan Dibben, who's looking for a new contract next year. Not the only man in that position.
Well, there's a lot of riders, you can tell by the way some of them are riding, trying to get in breakaways, trying to show themselves. But John Dibben, you know, he's been with Lotto Soudal, what, a couple of years now? Or is it just this year?
It's his first year this year. Just a one-year contract.
That is disappointing because he's not had a chance to really show. This would have been a big platform for him to try and get in a breakaway, to try and do something. So it's been a difficult year, and a difficult year for many riders.
There's another rider looking for a new contract. Marco Mattis of Germany rides for Cofidis. We did mention yesterday that Cofidis still have quite a few slots to fill for next season. It may just be that negotiations go on late with a lot of riders and they do end up staying at their teams. Of course, we know with Lotto Soudal that they've already made a public, haven't they, that they're signing a lot of younger riders, that they're getting rid of a certain selection of riders. We wait to find out about Jonathan Dibben, but here he is. He's a solid enough time trialist without being one of the big specialists. Of course, he's ridden a bit on the track, hasn't he, in his development in Great Britain. Let's see where he goes, the former Team Sky rider. 3 time checks along this course, but I guess we're looking, and whoever is going to take this on, we're looking to see what happens when we get to that climb, aren't we? The Muro di Ca del Poggio, because it's ridiculously steep. And I suppose for the Koenig Quick-Step, there's a lot of opportunities to test out the course and test out the ways to approach it. We know that Ilio Kessa is the first of their riders off, but of course the last man off, the last rider off today, and the last of their team will be the Maglia Rosa, João Almeida, who knows this route. He's ridden up the climb before in the under-23 Giro d'Italia, and I have to say that before they planned to come here, before they were here at the Giro, they had a training camp with the Koenig Quick-Step in the summer, not too far away, and with Remco Evenepoel they came to look at the route, so they know every detail about this time trial course.
Yeah, that's an intelligent move as well. Like you said, they were coming here with Evenepoel. They've got Almeida, and I think Almeida will extend his lead in the pink jersey competition. We just saw Ilio Kessa, he's been at the front a lot of the time. The most experienced rider in that Koenig Quick-Step team, and you know, another one, Alvaro Hodge, the Colombian, maybe a little bit disappointed with his sprinting, but at the end of the day, the whole team are behind the pink jersey and keeping a hold of that pink jersey. Just turning it back to Matthias, the Cofidis rider. I think it was in Qatar, the World Championships. He was a surprise winner of the under-23. I think the Germans got 1-2, if memory serves me right, and I just thought, wow. But he hasn't produced the big results. It's the same with John Dibben. This is a massive platform, and not even making a breakaway, or you know, we don't know what's happening. But you look at the difference between John Dibben and Matt Holmes. Matt Holmes has been really good, getting in breakaways, getting up in a stage, third in a stage. There's no reason why John Dibben can't get there, because as you said, you know, in the last few years, ridden well on the track, got his opportunity with Sky, got a 1-year contract, which is a bit of a surprise to many, but at the end of the day, you got to deliver.
This is Matteo Spreafico for Vini Zabu. I wonder if Lukashenko's calmed down yet after what we saw with that message to Jonathan Vaughters and EF Pro Cycling. I think we said yesterday you could understand his ire of a perceived lack of respect towards the Giro, and there's been some very good news coming out of the Giro d'Italia this morning. They've been conducting extra tests this week, and in a real effort, I think, to show and convince everybody that the suspicions and the talk around, you know, a perceived lack of organisation were perhaps a little misfounded. Every single one of the 500 and odd tests they've conducted has come back negative, so that's really good news. They're the saliva tests they've been picking up, and of course the procedure was going to be that midweek, if they'd found anybody from the organisation or any riders as positive, they'd have then done the full PCR test, which is the most stringent coronavirus test. So the road to Milan isn't looking as foggy as it did a few days ago, is it?
It's not. It's looking, you know, rather positive, and I think they've upped the tests. They've made a few changes as well. It does look as if, I think maybe a kind of difficult start in Sicily, but from what I've noted, that even the riders after the finish, you know, they've been protected. The fans have been seem to be a lot more respectful, and even the I was watching the 45 kilometre to go ban on things like that. That is now kind of off the road and things like that. So they're changing a lot of things, and you know, which is good to see. But yeah, when you hear that Jonathan Waters coming out with that open or closed letter, whatever it was, and then the whole team saying, you know, they want to remain in the Giro d'Italia, it just, you know, begs you to think that, you know, that everybody's happy.
One of the first candidates for victory, Matthias Brendle, is the Austrian national champion in the time trial. I think we said on the opening day that it's shorter efforts in the time trial that have always suited him in his career. But he's on good form, as we saw in that breakaway the other day with Alex Dowsett, and Israel Startup Nation's first ever Grand Tour victory. Something I didn't know, Brian, it was the first ever World Tour victory as well, which in 3 years of existence and 4 Grand Tours at this top level, that was, well, quite a stat really. So well played to Alex Dowsett, really making history in that team. Next rider to the start, and it's time for us to visit some Giro stories, beginning with CCC Team's own gym work. Victor Della Parte trying to get ripped. Most bike riders save that for retirement.
To survive these climbs?
No.
Do you expect many riders to survive these climbs?
No.
Well, it's Peter Sagan's response. Didn't survive himself. Gapped and never got back. There's Manuel Eduardo filling the tank for the time trial. Need all the gasoline he can get. Chez AG2L Mondial, that's Geoffrey Bouchard. Hello, hello.
Alors ça fera des images.
And this, the image of the day. Only really became apparent after the broadcast, but look at the man in the red there, Simon Pelot in the breakaway. And for a minute, he's one of the fans, stops and claps. He had a nice day out watching after he'd done his own work. Come on, lads, Forza! And Forza Diego Ulissi, stage win number 8 in his career at the Giro d'Italia. Only Mark Cavendish has a better record among active riders. James Knox, disappointed, wasn't he, after all the hard work yesterday? He's been a great listen whenever he's been interviewed at this Giro. He's performing even better on the bike as well. Also on Instagram, Patrick Conrad, showing us he had quite a fast, punchy finish. Not quite a sprinter yet. I don't think Peter Sagan will be worried in his team, but he picked up more bonus seconds. That was a nice look from inside the peloton there. There's some great stories coming out of this Giro d'Italia. New names, new faces that we're getting a better chance to get to know as well, given the fact that the start list is a bit different. Here's Jonathan Dibben, and we're having our first look on the television at the Muro di Ca del Poggio. It's pretty horrible, Brian.
Yeah, it breaks up the rhythm. Not very good. Most time trials, you know, you can use, you know, the aerodynamic bike and all the features, get the big gear rolling along, but you know, this steep wall breaks up the rhythm, and throughout the whole route you can't really get into that rhythm. So it's one of these things where the riders looking for the general classification and possibly the win of today's stage really have to kind of measure their effort here, because it comes so early in the stage. The top of it comes with 7.4 to go. Still a long way to go, so you can't really go into the red, so you really have to kind of know yourself. And you know, we were talking about this in the breakaway a little bit yesterday. Brad done his piece on the dynamics of some of the top GC contenders for today, and you know how different they are and the different equipment that they use. And in my day, you see your time trial bike in the morning of the event, and then it'll be taken off you afterwards. I remember asking
to take it home.
Yeah, I was asking to take it home, and they said no, someone else might be using it. So that was the situation that we were in. And then I know that a lot of riders have started to ride a lot more, because in this time trial position, it's once you get that position, you do your wind tunnel testing, and you get that position. It's very difficult to stay in that position when you're riding 100%, because you know, when you go into that wind tunnel, you're in controlled conditions, so you ride, and I think more and more riders are riding more at a kind of 100% to show them, you know, how hard it actually is to kind of stay in that position. You can see Matthijs Brendley here. He's, you know, flat back, very aerodynamic on the fronts. That's a rider that's has spent a lot of time riding in this position, and, you know, wind tunnel testing, and, you know, went for the hour records. Where you'll see other riders that haven't done that and not kind of helping themselves. But for a lot of these riders, including John Dibben, he just has to get through this stage within the time limit. He's not really going for the stage one or going for the general classification. But most of these top riders now, especially in time trial, are riding over mountains and doing kind of 5 hours in a time trial bike now.
Dibben coming to the top of this climb. By the way, there are King of the Mountains points available for the fastest time up the Muro di Ca del Poggio today, but it's only a fourth category climb. It's only 3 to 1 points, and you wonder what sort of effort people are going to put in for those. I know that Ruben Guerreiro might have a go. Maybe somebody who's not thinking about setting the best time trial time overall and who can afford to wheel their way in, have a go there. Thankfully, that bit of torture is over now for Dibben. British champion Alex Dowsett looking for stage number 2 this Giro. And he has to be down as one of the favourites, given the form he has. So a lot of the favourites going early. That's because of their place in the general classification now. We've had Brendley here. His teammate Dowsett is on the road. Next to the favourites really would be Natas Konovalovas. Might get a bit of freedom today. There are not many sprints coming up for Arnaud Demar, but how much easy he got left in the tank. He's been working really, really hard. Victor Kapanarts is at 34 minutes past the hour. Then Matej Bodnar, again, has been doing a lot of work. Rowan Dennis at 5 minutes to 2 local time. That's in 41 minutes time. Dario Cataldo at 6 minutes past 2. Mikel Biel at 11 minutes past 2. A minute later, Manuel Ebuado. Then you've got Chad Hager, Pipo Ganna at 20 past 2. That's in an hour's time. Thomas Sikent, he'd be an interesting one to look out for today. It's a course that could suit him. There's Roskopf, we know he's got good form. Likes of Castro Viejo later on, though, at 5 past 3. McNulty as well to watch, with Kelderman and Almeida, the last two. Have I missed anybody out, Brian? Or are we going to get a surprise today?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think most of the riders that you've said, you know, Theo Geoghegan-Hart can ride a good time trial as well. So, yeah, most of the riders you've already mentioned. Unlike the first time trial where, you know, the teams and the individuals got to choose kind of where they went throughout the day in their relative places. Here it's all done in the general classification. Luckily for the whole race, the conditions are quite consistent. There is a southeasterly wind, but only between kind of 2 and 4 kilometres an hour, so the wind will not play a huge factor. We've seen that from the first time trial that Rohan Dennis had some trouble controlling his bike. Well, this is a big opportunity for Rohan Dennis to show us what he can do, but you can only feel that the form that Filippo Ganna's got at the moment, he is the favourite for today, but you know, his biggest rival for the stage win could actually come from Rohan Dennis.
There's some great internal rivalry, isn't there, in teams today? We've got Castro Viejo, Dennis and Ganna all in one team, and this is a time trial given the climbs as well that might suit Castro Viejo a little better than the other two powerhouses. We'll have to see. Brendley, of course, and Dowsett are in the same team, and this is the Muro di Ca del Poggio, 1.1 kilometres long, 19% gradient in the first half, 16% in the second. average of 12.3. One of the biggest percentages we've seen of these red zone indicators so far, and you can expect it in a time trial. That's what it's all about, going as hard as you can for as long as you can. Today, you've got to go as hard as you can for 34.1 kilometers over a couple of hills. You've got the Muro di Cadel Poggio. Later, they'll climb to San Martino. It's funny, after we get to the top of this climb, cast your minds back 5 years. We had a very rainy, nasty, gnarly time trial. It was huge. It was almost 60 kilometers long. Started in Treviso, I think, provincial capital around here, and finished again in Valdobbiadene, as we see Hodge set the 5th best time so far at the top of the climb. And that's the slowest time so far at the top of the climb, because he was only the 5th rider off. Let's not get too excited about that. But once you get to the top of that climb, you rejoin the road. And it is basically, talking to our expert Bernie Eisel this morning, who's had his eagle-eyed out, and he knows this because he rode that time trial on the day when he was still a professional. He said it's basically the same route into Valdobbiadene after this climb. So the last 25, 30 kilometers of the time trial are exactly the same as what we had a few years ago. Into Valdobbiadene, that climb to San Martino, back down again. It was the day that Fabio Aru cracked and lost the Maglia Rosa. Bad day for him. Alberto Contador took it back, and Vasil Kirienka took the stage win. But of course, half the distance today, even though the climbing is a little more complicated. Getting a good look at this climb now. We talked about the route there. We talked about the chat I had with Bernie Eisel earlier on this morning. Well, he's going to be along in just a moment's time to talk about exactly what he thinks are the difficulties. Now then, proper time trialist on the road. Best time by 21 seconds. Brenly, quickest so far at the top of that climb, and our first real reference point. So let's have a look at what is left for Bernie's compatriot Brenly here, the Austrian. Here is Bernie Eisel with the course review.
Also a nice welcome from the sunny finish line here in Valdobbiadene. The riders will leave Conegliano for 34.1 kilometer long time trial. The first 6 kilometers are flat and perfect to find the rhythm before they turn left into the Muro Cadel Poggio. 1 kilometer really steep. It is a wall. Over the top, they will actually join the course that was used in 2015 when Vasil Kirienka won the time trial here in Valdobbiadene. From there, it drops down super fast, no problem, and another rise, but it will push it through in big gears. Then comes a longer descent with 3 corners, one long left-hander, a long right-hander, followed by another long left-hander. No problem, all full gas. Then they come to the bottom, 13 kilometers, pretty much flat, and there it is all set for the TT specialist. Big gear, and it will push over 60 kilometers per hour for the whole way till they come to the last ascent. It rises steady, 6%. They come to the top, dips down for a little bit, goes up again, but through the vineyards, beautiful. I tell you, it is beautiful. Before they really drop down here into Valdobbiadene, a double right-hand corner, and that brings them up here to the final straight, 400 meters with a little rise. For me, Filippo Ganna is the favorite, but I guess Filippo Ganna is the favorite for pretty much everybody out there.
Filippo Ganna is Bernie Eisel's favorite. We're watching Alex Dalsit here to see if he can break the time at the top of the climb that's just been set by his teammate. Remember, 7 kilometers in, 7.4 k's is the time check. It looks as though Brenly has gone out quicker than Dalsit, but of course this is a long time trial. Not as long as the one we had 5 years ago, as you're hearing from Bernie there. But it's pacing yourself over 34 Ks that's the issue, Brian.
That's the difficulty, and the experience counts. Fraport is just in front of Alex Dowsett at the moment, so he's just about to catch his minute man, or the rider that went off a minute in front of him. But yeah, knowing where you can ride, knowing the numbers, and I know that Alex Dowsett was really looking, to do a big result in the World Championships only a few weeks ago, and on the day. Because I was talking to Mark Brammeyer afterwards, that he was really disappointed that he was about 30 watts down on the day. He just kind of underperformed, and it's one of these things you can try and do everything you can do to get to that point. Do all the preparations, all the training, everything, but on the day sometimes we see this in stage races. Some riders just have a bad day, and Alex just didn't get on top of it that day, but this is another opportunity. I know over the last few days he's been thinking about this time trial, and trying to ride within himself on these last few days. He had that magnificent stage win, and I think that's given him huge confidence. We still don't know if he's got a contract for next year, but I think after that performance, British time trial champion, I think he should get that contract. But it'll give us a good indication of where he's at the top of this climb and how he's going, because I think he's set out pretty quickly now. I know Fraport is not a time trial specialist, but the top of this climb is at 7.4 kilometres and already just about to catch the rider that started a minute in front of him.
Yep, Marco Fraporti, as you said, the man that started in front of him. Brenle started even further in front than that. He's also got a rider from the same team to chase. They're both chasing the same colour of skin suits. Simone Bevilacqua was the man who started in front of Brenle. And this is Dowsett already on the Muro di Ca del Poggio, as you can see there. And Fraporti is the man at the top of the picture, left-hand side. Vini Zabur, we mentioned, they haven't won a stage for 8 years since Andrea Guardini took a sprint for them when he was a young man. Today they don't really have any time trial specialists, and as we've talked about before, a lot of the time trialing is the money that goes into it as well, with the various teams and preparation. There is Guarnieri, a minute 5.18 down on that top time set by the man we just saw, and the man we're seeing here, Matthias Brenle. And getting our first look at these roads that follow. Seen a lot of talk about a lot of lefts and rights as well, and changes of rhythm.
Yeah, there's a lot in this time trial to remember. I know every rider would have ridden this time trial course earlier this morning. So it's okay. It's only 34 kilometres, but the riders, it's a long day for them. They have to get up and ride the course. Some of them might want to look at it again, whether it's in a car. But yeah, there's a lot in this course that you have to remember.
Second best time for Alex Dowsett, 3.36 seconds slower than his teammate Brenle so far. Now then, here is Brenle. Always get a little nervous when I see these replays thrown in like this. Thankfully he's round okay. Another illustration of what we're talking about with Michael Hutchinson, actually, at the Time Trial World Championships, and the differing fashion at the moment, and the current investigation is to have the arms raised a little more than they were a few years ago. I'm sure we'll hear from Brad Wiggins on this as well. As we're up to Arnaud Démare. Maglia Ciclamino ready to start. For these guys who really just want to get round and save the legs, it's an interesting exercise, isn't it? Because they can't afford to go easy, Brian, but I guess easier than if they were giving their very best.
it's still a hard time trial for everybody. We look at the Tour de France final time trial, and a lot of riders went a little bit harder trying to calculate how fast the first rider will be, and then it's 25%, time limit. So everybody will do what they can, but still every rider will ride about kind of 90% to get to the finish and get within the time limit.
Now we're getting a look there at the second time check. That's Álvaro Hodge. The second time check comes at Pieve di Soligo. 17 kilometers to go once we get to that. The third and final time check along the way is at the top of the next hill at the Col San Martino. And that is with 9 kilometers still to go after 25 k's of racing. $19 k's to go for Brenle.
We just saw Elio Kaiser. He went through the second intermediate, 23 minutes and 36 seconds, and an average pace of about 43.5 kilometers an hour. So that's still quite quick when you consider the wall that they've already gone up at the start. That 1 kilometer climb, and Elio Kaiser is not the rider that is going to win this time trial. So it does look as if, with the weather conditions, very little winds, that this is producing, some fast times.
The Groupama FDJ team's all about the sprint. We're seeing most of them done and dusted. They might even be able to drive their bus off before the end today, because I think most of their riders will be around fairly quickly, given the fact they've all been around Arnaud Démare. They might even be able to watch the GC battle for the comfort of their hotel. They're lucky. Here's Alex Dowsett, 15 minutes in. Well, he could really, really make the headlines if he could pull something off today. He won that stage from the breakaway the other day. Should help in the search for that new contract. And, well, this is a nice little draft that Brenle is getting now, because the rider in front of him doesn't have the following car. They're actually using a van.
This is a double. There's two Vini Zabu riders together, so one's a team car for one of the riders, and then the other following car is a van. But Brenle's using this to his advantage here.
He is. And just for viewers who have not watched us before on the Giro d'Italia, what sort of advantage can the van offer to the car? I mean, it's punching a bigger hole in the air, isn't it? So you're getting a much better draft.
Yeah, of course, the van's the biggest thing there. You probably saved maybe about 5 seconds there. So, and these two riders have to stay apart. You got to pass a rider and give them 2 meters. These riders then have to not physically kind of drop back, but you cannot sit like the Vini Zabu riders. You cannot sit behind your own rider like this. That may give them a fine for actually doing this. So this is a big no-no what the Vini Zabu riders are doing, and sometimes riders have been disqualified in the past for doing something like this. But you have to give them 2 meters when you pass them and drop back 50 meters.
I was like watching Trofeo Baracchi back in the day, time trialling all the way down from Trento and finishing down in this part of the world. Look at him go! Vai, Trofeo Baracchi! Bring it back! What a race that was! A 2-up time trial. Vini Zabu off to try and win the Trofeo Baracchi, as we see Dowsett out front trying to set the best time. And the internal competition continues. Dowsett versus Brenle. His brotherly love all the other day in the breakaway. Both helping each other. Dowsett taking the win. Today they're up against each other once more for the bragging rights. $16 k's to go for Brenle, so he's just over halfway through.
Yeah, he's gone through the second intermediate, 23 minutes and 1 second, which is 35 seconds quicker than Elio Kaiser. So it just goes to show that Elio Kaiser is just doing what he does, just goes at one pace the whole time. Still, yeah, just got a lot of strength left in his legs. But yeah, Brenle is fastest at the second checkpoint. The average speeds at the moment at that point for Brendley is 44.576 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, exactly as I said, fast. He only knows, he's only got one gear, hasn't he? Well, I suppose he's a track rider. He's only got one gear.
Quickest.
Chooses it beforehand and that's it.
Fastest time we get to the finish, the quicker you get a rest.
There's Nathan Haas, 34 seconds down on Matthias Brendle's top time, which still stands. You could see there with Haas that he was being followed by a different car. He didn't have a team car behind him. It was one of the cars, maybe even I'm not sure what colour sticker it had on and what they mean. Obviously, we're not at the Giro this year, but it was a light blue sticker. Interesting to see. Of course, the biggest resources on the team are usually dedicated to the people they want their best to help. You know, the GC riders or the riders going for the stage win. That's who's going to get the team car chasing them and following them if you've maybe got a few Cofidis riders going at once.
There's normally, there is two full team cars. There'll be, a Swan Ure staff member's car, maybe another car, 4. Some teams will maybe have 5 or 6 cars in the whole race, and then they've got their team buses and, whatever, the trucks and various other things that they've got. So they've got a fleet of vehicles at their disposal, but on a race day when you get a lot of riders that come in quick succession, very difficult to get them to follow a rider and get all the way back to the start again. So they'll utilise the commissaires' vehicles and various other publicity vehicles to follow them. All they'll do is just put a couple of spare wheels or a spare bike or whatever in the car behind for the rider.
Back with Matthias Brendle on stage 14 of the Giro d'Italia. Penultimate stage before the end of the second week. And provided there's no nasty surprises coming from the PCR tests on the rest day, the fog around Milan and the rest of the Giro route that was building and becoming quite dense and thick the other day is clearing nicely. 500 and odd negative saliva tests taken. Next to the big favourites. Nightmare on day one. Crash, complaints, everything. Victor Capenaerts, take 2. The world hour record holder is off. NTT have been riding well. Now, how does Victor Capenaerts go here? Because surely he has the freedom to chase his own result, despite the fact that NTT have been riding for Pozzo Vivo. We know that they all need new contracts, and this is where Capenaerts can ride for himself.
Yeah, he can, and a couple of days ago in the break, and then having to do some riding at the front, it was a tough day. But I think yesterday he would have taken it really easy. But interestingly, Konovalovas just come across the fastest over the first checkpoint there. So Konovalovas is having a good time trial already.
And this is it.
Well, the graphic is.
Our graphics department have a different idea. We'll get a double check on that.
Yeah, I think this would be.
Oh, we've had a crash. We've had a crash. Looks like Molano. Sebastian Molano. And this is how it happened.
Yeah, bump. Is it a bump? No. What happened there?
Oh, my word. He just lost control. He was, again, it's an incident that's been. We saw this last week, didn't we? Changing your hands. We saw it with Lopez when he hit the bump, and he was changing his hands from one set of bars to the other. And poor old Molano has taken a right beating there off that wall. His hands not in a good way. Keep your eye on that. Now then, this is Kessa being caught, I think, by Brendle.
No, this will be Alvaro Hodge. Yeah, this will be Hodge. Yeah, Konovalovas, that the graphic came up, but it confirmed it 45 seconds there. I was a bit surprised there. Thought he was turning the clock back a few years, but yeah, for Konovalovas, it's just about getting to the finish.
Konovalovas will remind you that he was a Giro d'Italia stage winner in front of the Colosseum, one of the most dramatic Giro finishes we've had in the last few years. 2009, the Centenary Giro. I remember it well, the gasps in the commentary box when He was leading and Denis Menchov crashed inside the last kilometre. "50 seconds quicker than the previous man through at the final time check for Elio Kessa. That's after Col San Martino.
We do have a rider at the intermediate 3, that's still John Dibben, but intermediate 2, the fastest is still Brenly, but 2 seconds behind him is his teammate Alex Dowsett, and British champion.
What a chase. He's getting closer because he was at 3.5 seconds after the first climb. Another of the favourites, Matej Bodnar, but what's left in the tank? Working hard all week for Sagan, Micah, Conrad. More work to do at this Giro. But remember, a time trial stage winner in the Tour de France previously. Might be a decent course for somebody like Bodnar. Let's see. Here's Dowsett, and he's approaching Guarnieri, which is his 2-minute man. He's already gone beyond Frapporti, we saw that. The man he's about to overtake here, Jacopo Guarnieri, set off 2 minutes before. In fairness to Guarnieri, there's a huge difference in the approaches here, isn't there? Dowsett is a time trial specialist. We know he's better than Guarnieri at this discipline, but he's also going for the stage win, whereas the man at the bottom there, Guarnieri, isn't. And well, Molano, there's a doubt here as to whether he's going to carry on, because he's been off the bike for quite a while there.
Yep, and there is a time limit. I know, rules are rules. They may take into consideration this crash, but yeah, it just look as if he doesn't want to rush back onto the bike, which is disappointing for the rider.
Disappointing for the team as well, because they are going to do and need him. Oh, well, he might not be able to carry on. Let's have a look. Bike is being taken away and not prepared, and that might be, I'm afraid, the last we see of Sebastian Molano at this Giro d'Italia. If that's the case, get well soon. A small peloton gets even smaller. It started with 143 riders today. That's presuming everybody takes the start. Arnaud Demar. He started fairly well, 6th best time up the climb. He's actually not the worst time trialist in the world, is Arnaud Demar, either. He's got a lot of power, and I've seen him put in solid performances in the past, but today he'll be thinking ahead, thinking the long game, getting around. Maglia Ciclamino to fight for all the way to Milan. Back with Brenly. Final time check for him at 1:14 quicker than Kessa. Now we're talking. That's Alvaro Hodge behind him, not going to trouble the scorers. So Brenly, it's fairly clear, is going to set the fastest time when he comes to the finish. Question is, how long will he be in the hot seat for? Is he going to be bumped out by his teammate Dowsett? Because they're just 2 seconds apart right now. Well, they'll be riding this with a lot more confidence than they had the last time we time trialled. Down in Palermo, Monreale and Palermo. Monreale just outside of the city in Sicily, where we had our first stage finish. Seems an age ago. 2 weeks ago today. They've won a stage since then. We mentioned their World Tour stage winners, now the team Grand Tour stage winners. And I'm just looking up into the hills there. It's very grey, it's very dark. It looks a bit rainy. Not quite as bad as it looked the last time we were here 5 years ago for a stage like this, when Vasil Kirienka won in the rain. And Alberto Contador took a huge step forward on his way to winning the Giro d'Italia. Oh, and he's back on his bike. That's what we want to see. So maybe it isn't the last we've seen of Sebastian Molano. Question is now, will he make the time cut? He's giving it a try. And kudos to Molano for that. Victor Capanaz is on the way. 7 wins in his career. Last time he won a time trial was over a year ago. It's the final stage of Tirreno Adriatico. And we know he had all the form from the hour record attempt then. The only race he's ever won on Italian soil. Only World Tour win in his career as well. So often talked about, but not a man who's produced prolifically, to say he's 28 now.
No, he's very consistent time trialist. Of the 69 time trials that he's ever ridden in his career, he's finished top 10 in 43 of them.
And he's about to start the climb here. Muro di Ca del Poggio, and there's the vital statistics. Look at that. Maximum gradient 19%, average 12.3%, climbing 140 meters over just over a kilometer. As well with the Polish time trial champion Kamil Gradek. 8.5 seconds slower than Matthias Brändli. Not seeing any bike changes or anything like that, Brian.
No, there was a bit of talk about it, but I think once the riders rode the course this morning, they felt comfortable that they would do it on their time trial bike. You can just see Campanarts, he's got his Minute Man just in front of him, but it's just steady away. Really, really steady on this climb. They don't want to go too much in the red because they'll pay for it later on. So this is just experience and knowing your body more than anything, looking at the numbers as well. You can see Campanarts just kind of looking at his head unit there just to make sure that he's riding within a certain kind of threshold. But you know, once you get further on in the time trial, like Alex Dowsett and Brändli are doing, it's just getting that power down. He's still got a bit of a climb to go to the finish, and Brändli's on it now. So these are the factors you've got to think about on this time trial. You've got a kind of long power drag here, steep climb at the start. So like a few of our Eurosport experts were saying, it's not an easy time trial to get the rhythm right. And if you've gone hard out fast, going into the reds, and then you come to the final climb up towards the end of this time trial, then you're really going to pay for it, and that's where you can make up quite a bit of time.
Victor Campanarts is on the climb to Muro di Ca del Poggio. We're hearing from the start that there's some bad news for Trek Segafredo. Giulio Ciccone has been suffering from acute bronchitis, and according to his Trek Segafredo team, will not start stage 14. They say the decision was taken by team management in agreement with the rider to protect his health. Also, obviously, with the questions that will undoubtedly be asked because of what we're living at the moment with regards to the C word, clinical investigations did not reveal any other pathological issues. So that is also a little silver lining from that cloud. There is no talk of any positive corona test or anything like that. But unfortunately for Giulio Ciccone, he will not start today. That means that Trek Segafredo and Vincenzo Nibali are now down two riders who would have been very useful in the mountains, Brian.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that myself. They've also said, please note that all COVID-19 swabs to which Ciccone has been subjected to from the beginning of the Giro until today, the last one this morning at the hospital, were negative. And I think it's just the fact that we've had two very kind of rainy days, and especially a couple of days ago, that really affected a lot of the riders. You could see that his teammates, Vincenzo Nibali, pulling two rain jackets on, very difficult to recover from that. And you know, we said it all along, we don't know enough about this virus and, you know, the after effects of it, while it does affect your body and your immune system. So, you know, he's already had COVID-19 before he actually came into this race. And below level, when you consider what he was doing last year, absolutely magnificent Giro d'Italia. It's been disappointing, but I think the team have made the right decision.
Victor Campanarts very close to the top time. He's very much in the game, less than a second slower than Matthias Brändli. That's who we rejoin now, and he's approaching the area. It looks like it's raining towards the finish.
Just an update on the third time check, and the third time check is just before the long climb, the last kind of long, kind of draggy climb up that Brenly's just kind of over the top of. Brenly was equal in time with the British time trial champion Alex Dowsett.
So that's interesting because Brenly set off quicker, didn't he? He had a 3.5 second lead at the first check. That went down to 2 seconds at the second check. And as you said, they are smack bang level at the third check. Are we going to get our first finisher? It looks that way. This is Jonathan Dibben, Maglia Nera, last rider at the Giro d'Italia. Meant that he was the first one off today. Screech of his brakes as he's into the final few corners in Valdobbiadene. Similar finish, you'll have seen this before. 5 years ago, Vasil Kirienko won here. Alberto Contador took back the pink jersey. Here, we're going to find out if Jonathan Dibben remains in the black jersey. Of course, it's one that's not worn in competition. It's a name we give because it used to be a jersey back in the day. The last rider of the Giro d'Italia, Jonathan Dibben, coming to the line for Lotto Soudal. And he's going to set the early benchmark time. And it is 47 minutes, 52 seconds. As we've seen behind, the times have been falling, so he won't have to go and sit in the hot seat for a long time here, Jonathan Dibben. Probably get a chance to towel down and then get off to the hotel or the bus. He set the time. He's across the line. The first out of 142 riders to take on today's 34k time trial. One of them going faster than a few others. Look at that. Campenarts. He's already taken Le Tournier. That was Torres. So he's taken first 2 minute men already. So Torres, and this is Le Tournier. He's going great guns. Not too much straight road, is there, Brian? Whenever we've looked, there's a lot of twists and turns here. In and around the hills, not just up and down them. We're seeing lots of people on the roads as we look at those wonderful Prosecco vines that give us the famous sparkling wine. And with Brenly 3 kilometers from the finish, he's all ready to go and take his place in the hot seat.
You worry when you see Campenarts going round some of these corners, and I thought the Cofidis rider Letournier was going to come over, but I think they knew that he was coming. He got a message from his car behind that Campenarts was coming with speed.
11.3 seconds behind Brenly is Bodnar. And back with Bodnar now, who's settling in. As we said on the opening day, it's a sort of lottery watching Bodnar in a time trial. You know he can produce the jackpot, but you also might just get 3 numbers and win a tenner. We've had our first finisher. For those of you watching on the television, welcome back. And if you'd been watching uninterrupted on the Eurosport app or GCN Race Pass, you would have seen Jonathan Dibben set the best time. We're back live here. And back to the finish. And this is Elio Kessa. New best time by 23.5 seconds. But again, rather like Dibben, I don't think Kessa's going to be hanging around at the finish too long. Nor will he plan on being. Look the part anyway. Interesting sunglasses. I had this conversation, I didn't think, a week or so ago. The visors seem to be going out of fashion at the moment. Now to CCC's Czech national champion, Josef Černý. How's he going to get on here? He's certainly going to be giving his all. This is his strength, this is his speciality. And he'll leave everything on the road between Conegliano and Valdobbiadene. Both towns are producing very nice bottles of Prosecco. That's why we're here. This is the wine trial this year. We've been having them for the last few years, haven't we? Time trials in wine regions. Big moment this. Matthias Brennle, almost 45 minutes into his effort. The Austrian national champion arriving in Valdobbiadene. It's going to be a long wait if he's going to pop the cork at the end of the day, but he is going to go into the hot seat. How long will he be there? Taking every turn at breakneck speed. And even the finish, the finale, is fairly technical. There's twists and turns, then another acceleration after you're off the brakes. Turn around again, you can't see the finish line until you get to very, very close to it. He's going to absolutely smash the time that's set by Elio Kessa. But it's the first of our real specialists, and he's about to finish his effort. 100 meters to go, make it 50 now for Brennle. Across the line he comes, and it's a brand new fastest time. 2 minutes, 4.93 quicker. Brennle sets the fastest time. Question is, how long will it stand? He's given absolutely everything there. The former world hour record holder and Austrian national champ. We'll be looking to this man, Victor Capanat, but before, we'll be looking to his teammate, the British national champion, and Alex Dowsett was neck and neck at that final time check. Here's Bodnar in the meantime. He's the man at the bottom of your picture in the black, green and white. Former Polish national champ. Former Tour de France time trial stage winner. The Tour de France time trial he won was a little shorter than this, if I remember. But there was a big climb in the middle in Marseille before it finished in the stadium. Kamil Gradek, his compatriot, current national champion, also going really well here. Just 5.3 seconds down on the top time set at that second time check.
Yeah, you'd expect a lot that kind of national champions want to kind of show off their skin suits, the colours. You know, proud to be a national champion. They get an opportunity to race with the, you know, the country's colours on their back today, and you don't want to let your country down. So they will all show well, and good to see the Polish time trial champion doing a good time. It's whether you're down in the classification or it doesn't really matter. You just want to do the best by it. You feel good, and you know, we got to remember that Filippo Ganna riding the Giro with the World Championship bands on. It just gives you a little bit more of a lift when you pull that on, because this is the second time in this race these riders have been allowed to do this as being the current national champion of their country.
Interesting with Ganna is that he could end up winning 4 stages at this race even without getting in another breakaway. It's incredible. More than the sprinters maybe, or at least as many as Dimar. And I'm sure he's going to try and get in another breakaway at some point. Now Bodnar is trying to catch Consonni here. Consonni's a rider who's not too far away from here by birth. Another of the favourites, the former world champion, Rowan Dennis, looking to make up for his performance on the opening day. Didn't go for him, got very unlucky with the weather and the wind. Today could be the day. It looks like a Rowan Dennis kind of day.
You think so, and he's been very, very quiet when you consider who we've been talking about. You know, Narvaez got his stage win. Ben Swift has been up there in a few stages, tailgagging hard and trying hard, and we've seen Castroviejo get second, Puccio get second, and you know, when you go through the whole team, everybody's been up there. Everybody's either been, you know, getting a good placing at the end, and you know, attacking, getting in breakaways. But this man here, he's just going about his business, just doing his faithful lieutenant with a lot of the riders, not getting in any breakaways. And I think it comes down to just this time trial. He really wants to win a stage here, and like you say, Rob, I think this course suits him. You know, with the changes of the gradient, and you know, having that experience that Rowan Dennis has got, he will be looking to try and win this time trial today, but unfortunately he's up against, you know, a machine in Filippo Ganna, his teammate, but he just looks concentrated. I think that's the reason why we've not kind of really seen him getting any breaks or trying anything, because he's saving everything for this time trial today.
Coming up to the next time check here is Campenaerts, and we're going back to the start to a man who's ridden really well. Not really fated at this Giro d'Italia, but think back to stage 9, think back to the mountain finish. Nico Denz, a really strong rouleur, might not go too badly today, but you imagine that he might be told to save legs as well, because he was right up there, wasn't he, as the big rouleur in the team, and he was still there onto the final climb when we were in the Apennines for that mountaintop finish. Oh, and let's go to the time check, because Campenaerts is absolutely flying. 10.6 seconds quicker. He's the leader in the clubhouse with half of the course to go. Now the real leader in the clubhouse is Brendle. Can Dowsett challenge him? We know it was close, we know it was neck and neck. Has Dowsett gone out slower and coming home quicker? Let's get the clock up. 44.49 here, and we're well inside the final 400 metres. Yeah, time to see that final image, Brian.
It's going to be close here. 45.23 is Brendle's time. It just comes up in the screen. It looks as if he might just be able to dip under this.
Well, Dowsett, a winner from a breakaway the other day. Brendle in the hot seat, his teammate looking at his lodgem now. We know that Campenaerts is going quicker behind, but Dowsett looking to set the fastest time. Right to left on the road, he's leaving everything out there yet again. Alex Dowsett coming to the line, but it's going to be Brendle who carries on sitting on the throne. Dowsett very, very close, but today the bragging rights go to Brendle. 5.9 seconds slower, a strong time trial, but not enough to set the fastest time. Victor Campenaerts looking for a first ever Grand Tour stage win. And he's here at the Giro d'Italia to do that. Currently set the fastest time, and look at that, the biggest difference we've really had between the big men so far. We know that Brendle, Dowsett, Gradek were all pretty close there, but a 10-second difference at 17.1k from Campenaerts. Now with Dennis, another man to keep an eye on. He's had time to just get into his rhythm now, but the problem with this time trial is that after 4 kilometres, your rhythm is broken up because you hit the Muro di Ca del Poggio, you lose all speed, and one of the really difficult things about the climb is that the hardest gradient comes right at the bottom, 19%, and then you've got to get going away.
It's a really tough one, but everybody is getting the same conditions, same course, same conditions, so unlike the stage 1 where Rowan Dennis had to suffer from, you know, the buffeting wind, so I think this is a big opportunity for Rowan Dennis. We were saying just a few moments ago that he hasn't been getting in breakaways, he hasn't been kind of looking for that stage win. This is the stage that he's looking for, but he is up against his friends and teammate Filippo Ganna for this one.
Czerny is the man at the bottom of your screen. He's the Czech time trial champion, and he's got Eros Capecchi in front of him. Back with Bodnar. Half a minute down for Bodnar. Unless he pulls something very special at the second half of the course, doesn't look like he's going to be in the running for the stage win. In the meantime, on his way to the bottom of the climb, Rowan Dennis. And he's about to take in his minute man already. Wow. Lorenzo Rota is the man in front. It's taken him just 5 kilometres to catch him. That's another man passed by Campenaerts in the meantime. Campenaerts going past Baez. So Campenaerts has gone past his minute man, his 2-minute man, and his 3-minute man. He is absolutely flying. Plenty of overtaking today and some big differences, I think, Brian.
Yeah, everybody's riding their own time trial, just trying to get inside the time limit for a lot of riders. Others, you know, pushing it, trying to get up there on the stage. Just to remind you that there are points on the finish today. The first 10 are classified in the time trial, so there are points up for grabs.
But no bonus seconds in the general classification. The 3 time trial stages are the 3 days that we don't have bonus seconds. So if Joao Almeida, for example, were to win in the Maglia Rosa today, he would not pick up the 10 bonus seconds that he would have done if he'd have won on the road in the Maglia Rosa yesterday. He did take 6 though, didn't he? He's actually done fairly well out of the bonus seconds as Almeida. He's been up there on a couple of occasions doing that. It forms a fair chunk of his 40-second lead. That was Dennis about to start the Muro di Ca del Poggio. Oh, wow. Look at that from Josef Czerny. 30 seconds he's taken out the top time. He is a man to watch here. He is a man who's absolutely flying. Now his CCC teammate, 3rd place as well, but 21 seconds down. Keep your eye on Czerny. Has he gone out hard and he's going to lose a little bit or not? This isn't Rowan Dennis, by the way. This is Victor Campenaerts. The last time we looked, he was very much on to set the fastest time. Of course, we're looking at and forward to Filippo Ganna's appearance on the course. Let's have a look at what he's done so far. Filippo Ganna discovering the World Tour this season with more racing on the road, with the Olympics cancelled. Tirreno Adriatico, who was out there, he's now the TT World Champion. And of course, he's won 2 stages now in a Grand Tour on debut. First pink jersey of this edition. He's doing very well. Here's Dario Cioni. Filippo could be competitive in a Grand Tour. I think we can say that. It's his first Grand Tour. So far we've seen very interesting things. And he keeps being a main character and contender day after day. Let's see how it goes in the 3rd week, maybe in the future. Not an immediate future, but there are some maybe intermediate races like Tirreno, less famous ones with a time trial or a summit finish. And if he gets competitive there, then we'll be able to think about moving forward and maybe a 3-week approach. Before he moves forward, before he changes his style of racing, if that's to happen, there's another time trial to try and win today in Valdobbiadene. Italian legend Francesco Moser thinks he can perform on this type of profile as well. Well, for sure, he showed that he's an amazing talent. He's been beating all the records, even the track cycling ones. Also during time trials, the one before Tirreno Adriatico, then on the Giro d'Italia he did fantastic performances. Let's see if during the time trial in Valdobbiadene he can do well, because it has some difficult stretches, but I think that he could do something there as well. Well, he certainly can. He has such potential that even a couple of years he could be looking at a bigger ambition. What about him, though? What does he think? Well, we'll see, because every year the body changes. There's some improvements, and every year is different from the previous one. Let's see what happens within 2, 3, or even 4 years. For next year, I'm going to be still dedicated to the Olympic Games. And after the Olympics, I'll be training more often on the road, like Elia Viviani did with the Olympics in Rio. So let's focus on finishing this Giro, and then get to the track, and we'll see after the Olympics. For now, we're seeing more than enough. Filippo Ganna out today at 2:20. That is in 15 minutes' time. Now then, 8.5 seconds of a lead for Campenaerts at the 3rd check. He's lost around a second or 2 on Brenly over the last bit, and he's looking still pretty strong for now. Now then, have a look at this. Rowan Dennis going even faster. My, oh my, oh my. If you thought Chaney was going well, Dennis is on a mission here. 21 seconds quicker. That means he's 50 seconds quicker than the guys who are already on the course.
Yeah, you can see that on the start line. He was so focused, and he had the difficult conditions in the first time trial of this year's Giro, and he's a fighter. He's been very, very quiet, just thinking of this stage today, and he really is a bit of a powerhouse when it comes to time trialing. But at the end of the day, I think this stage today is going to be between himself and the rider we just watched on our screen, and that's Filippo Ganna.
Tratnik, outsider. This is Campanazzo. Of course, he's concentrating on setting the top time, but the news coming from the further back on the course is incredible. Meantime, UAE Emirates. Is that Molano? Yes. So he's finished. First, we'll see if he's in the time limit. Then, of course, his injuries, of course, will have to be assessed as well. But well done for getting round.
Well, he's lost just over 13 minutes and 8 seconds.
$25Ks to go in the meantime for Dennis. Oh, what a mess. What a real mess. Great start for Dennis. The key is to keep it going all the way for 34.1 kilometers. The only bit of straight road I think I've seen on the course so far, that. Following this man closely. He had set the revelatory time, hadn't he, before we saw Dennis come across. He'd been half a minute quicker than the likes of Campanazzo on that climb. But with Dennis coming through even further, 21 seconds quicker, that really has raised the bar. I won't be telling this man that yet. He'll be trying to set the best time he can. Looks set to take the lead. Victor Campanazzo he lives a time trialing, doesn't he? He's one of those riders who is obsessed by the discipline. A real student of it. Rather like Alex Dowsett. Study every millimetre of his position. Hours and hours in wind tunnels. A lot of the testing he does will be for the benefit of teammates as well. Same with Rowan Dennis. He's got a good relationship with the Giro. He's won a TT before. He's won the pink jersey. He was trying to do it on the Italian mainland as he'd done it before in Israel. This is Maciej Bodnar, and I don't think he's going to trouble the scorers for the win. 42 seconds down. Let's get the feeling, Brian, even for the GC later on as well, we saw the differences between some of the real specialists just on that first climb and between some of the very best time trialists in the world. We're seeing 50 seconds of a difference over just 7 kilometres there. This could be huge for the GC later on.
Yeah, when you look at the first time trial, Almeida comes out on top, but not a huge amount of difference between the rest of them. Okay, possibly Micah disappointed in the first time trial, but we're looking at different conditions. It's the same conditions for everybody today. It's not going to change. The wind is not going to come up. Hopefully the rain stays away, but yes, equal conditions for everybody, and they'll all be within the same kind of time frame as well, going off at where they sit in the general classification. So it is going to be equal, and others will have to perform maybe better than they did in the time trial on the first day. But you know, this is 2 weeks into a hard race for everybody. How have they recovered from the last few days? Because it was a hard stage a couple of days ago in the cold, and then yesterday it wasn't an easy finish for the GC contenders. So it's going to produce some could be big time gaps.
Back to the start, and Mikel Biel is a man to watch. He's been looking for a stage win from breakaways. He was close on time trial number 1. Today he could do some damage. Victor Caparat still has just under 6 kilometers to go, and he's climbing Col San Martino. Dennis isn't yet there, but he's set off like a house on fire. Maciej Bodnar coming through the next time check. Not really pulling up any trees. 42.84 seconds down. That was a replay for the benefit of those of you coming back from the commercial break on television. If you'd like to watch without commercial breaks, you can do so. Subscribe to the Eurosport app or the GCN Race Pass. Wherever you're watching, we're watching the vines of the Prosecco region. Go and buy your little best bottle of bubbly from a local supermarket, or have your Aperol Spritz. This is where it's produced. The grapes around here producing Prosecco. It's a denomination of origin, so if you buy Prosecco, it has to come from this region. These towns, Conegliano, Valdobbiadene. This man sprayed a bit of it around already as a stage winner. Today, he'll be just getting round. Peter Sagan. And off for Bora Hansgrohe. And you can already tell by his demeanour. It's get to the team bus and tomorrow's another day. Peter Sagan is already looking to week 3. Tomorrow being a mountain stage, of course. Piancavallo is where we go to tomorrow. And Arnaud Démare had a pretty similar outlook. Tell you what, though, he's going to go quicker than Ilio Kessa. 3rd place so far.
He's ridden solid the whole way through. I was just looking at his time checks. It's been a solid performance, which shows that he's still got good legs, but those good legs will have to wait another few days, because mountain stage tomorrow, rest day, and then we've got 3 mountain stages. Potential sprint stage, I think, is to Asti, and I think that's the only time we're going to see it. And on the points competition, I'm struggling to see where, with limited points at the intermediate sprints, I'm struggling to see where Sagan is going to make the points up. So I think he was hoping yesterday, came up a little bit short, and I think Démare just breathed a little bit easier yesterday, knowing the result.
Will we not see, I know there's not as many points available as there are in the Tour de France, because you get 20 points at the intermediate sprint there, but will we not see Sagan doing what he does in the Tour, trying to get in the break, making it a really hard first hour or so, getting up the road and taking points?
We will possibly see that, but there's limited points. You're talking about at the 12 points
12
maximum.
Points maximum, aren't there?
Maximum, yeah. And of course, at the finishes of these difficult stages, there's only 15 points at the end as well. Not that they'll get there. The big stage for them is stage 19, where it's going to be full points, and you would expect Démare to take them there.
We're following Kamil Gradek, the Polish national time trial champion. The time's ticking away here, and he may well be about to set the fastest time. Gradek for CCC flying to the line, and he beats the time set by Brenly. We have a new leader, 45.2 kilometers per hour. Well played, Kamil Gradek.
Yeah, winning the battle of the national champions there. Gradek, the Polish champion, just in front of Brenly, the Austrian champion, and the British champion in 3rd place, Alex Dowsett.
The way that Campenaerts was going, it looked as though he was going to set the fastest time. Of course, there's that final hill. We will see. Brenly at 45.23.59, just been beaten. This is Tratnik, 35 seconds down. Half an hour ago, that would have been a really good time. And then, of course, Czerny turned up, and then Rowan Dennis turned up. And here is the latter, the Australian. Been in charge in each and every one of the Grand Tours, hasn't he, in his career? Pretty impressive record, actually. He's worn a Maglia Rosa, Maillot Jaune, and El Maillot Rojo, the three jerseys of the Giro, the Tour, and the Vuelta, respectively. TT World Champion, 28 victories to his name. He's 30 now, the man from South Australia. As we look on the Slovenian Tratnik, one World Tour time trial win, and that was in the prologue of the Tour de Romandie 18 months ago now. It's a long wait, isn't it, those final 9 kilometres with that climb involved to see what's happening with the time check. Now, time checks, again, are going to be ripped up. Look at that, he's gaining time. He was 21 seconds faster than Czerny at the first time check. He's now 27 seconds faster. Rowan Dennis is leading at the halfway point. This is Campenaerts approaching the final kilometre in the meantime. And we are just 3 minutes away from the Top Ghana latest episode. 1k to go, and you can see where this descent ends. The descent from the climb itself is pretty tricky, pretty technical, and it goes all the way into the last, 600 meters or so when it goes uphill again. You take on, and you have to take off a lot of speed here. This is when they reach Val d'Obbiadene. There's another right-hand turner there where you can hear the screech of brakes. Campenaerts will have to accelerate out of this corner there, and it's a nervous look for Kamil Gradek, enjoying his moment in the hot seat. But I think he'll be realistic about things. He knows this man was close. He knows that Dennis and Czerny are coming like trains behind as well. But for now, what can Campenaerts do? He's doing what he always does. He's one of the rare time trialists who gets out and sprints to the line. There's the time to beat, 45:14. It's looking okay here. It's looking very good, in fact, for Victor Campenaerts. He is going to set the fastest time, but how long is it going to stand for? He's going to be the first man to go below 45 minutes, and Victor Campenaerts has gone like the wind, 27 seconds quicker. It's a solid time. It's competitive. Is it going to be good enough for the win?
Well, I very much doubt that. With what's happening out in the course, it looks as if Rowan Dennis, once he gets to the finishing line, will be the fastest, barring any incidents. But yeah, I was listening to the World's Time Trial, and I think it was Michael Hutchinson said that getting out the saddle is not the best thing to do, but at the end of the day, it's an uphill finish, and we're seeing a lot of the riders getting out the saddle to accelerate and get every second it's possible. But yeah, normally in a kind of flat time trial, makes no sense getting out the saddle to finish the time trial.
Bit of traffic there. 2 stage wins already. Italian champion, world champion, stage favourite. Filippo Ganna, ready to go Ganning again. And he's off. 34.1 kilometres against the clock. Ineos Grenadiers looking for stage win number 4. Ganna is after a hat-trick. The early signs are that only his teammate Dennis can stop him. So, a big moment again for Filippo Ganna, this time with a little bit of pressure off. I say a little bit because I think he'll be putting pressure on himself here, Brian Doohan.
He certainly will. We're in the Giro d'Italia, of course, world champion. When you've got those stripes on, you want to show you're the best. And Rowan Dennis, a former champion, he's out there setting the course alight, but I think this course suits both of these type of riders, and we'll get the first check at the top of this climb.
Sombrero half a minute down on Dennis, but still the third best time so far. And he was quicker than Victor Campenaerts at the start of the course. Let's go and get a check for the first time then on the reactions after they've ridden. Let's go and chat to the British national champion, Alex Dowsett.
Alex Dowsett, which was your feeling on the course today?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Yeah, it's pretty strong. I think me and Branley put in a sort of decent ride. It sounds like Rowan Dennis is on fire. Yeah, it was okay.
What's your forecast? I mean, if I can ask you about the GC guys, you will see there will be big differences?
Not big, but I think Almeida's going to extend his lead. It's good for him, I think. The little I know about him, it feels like it will be good for him, especially with what he did in the first TT.
Cadel Poggio is pretty hard, pretty steep. Does it break the rhythm?
You kind of have to treat it as 3 time trials. Get to the climb, do the climb, and then do the time trial afterwards. Yeah, it makes it very different to a normal time trial. Yeah, you're going to see, I think, us bigger guys quite a long way behind at the top, and then hopefully coming back in the second half. But I mean, there can be a big deficit at the top of the climb, and it's always tougher to come back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Interesting talking tactics there with Alex Dowsett. Approach interesting as well that he didn't think there'd be big gaps in the GC.
I don't think there would be huge gaps, but you know, are we talking a minute here or are we talking 30 seconds?
Biel 33.9 down on Dennis, and that's a bit of a surprise really. Or it could mean that Dennis is on a really special day.
Well, by the looks of things, he's on a special day, but Biel might be, you know, riding it a little bit differently, taking it a little bit easier on the climb there. We just heard from Alex. It's about just getting to the bottom of the hill, getting up the climb, and then time trialing. So that's what Biel might be doing.
Bodnar initially looking good at the first check, lost a little bit of gas on the way through. He's going to be the 6th best provisionally. 1 minute 50 down from the current leader, who is the hour record holder, Victor Campenaerts, and there he is. There's a wave. Maybe somebody just told him about Rowan Dennis time splits. The expressions seem to tell a bit of a story like that. Bodnar, such a powerhouse on the bike, isn't he? Dennis just flying past Campenaerts' teammate there. That's Danilo Vis. So Dennis has gone past Rolta, gone past Cepeda, and now gone past Vis. 3-minute man gone. Filippo Ganna with that bling bike that cost 25,000 euros. Not sure how much the paint job cost as well. It must be a good chunk of it. But when is Top Ganna going to take off? We know he climbs all right, but as we heard from Alex Dowsett, he'll just be wanting to get that Muro di Cadel Poggio out the way. 1.1 kilometres, 12.5% average, maximum of 19 at the start. This is an interesting man to watch for today. Thomas de Kent. A time trial that looks pretty good for him. We know he can time trial. He's not necessarily a specialist. He has decent form, but up and down, left and right, suits him more than a straight time trial. And here is Peter Sagan, 1 minute and 5 down. Ganna, who'd only taken time trial wins in his professional career. And we're with Dennis, who's about to take another chunk of time out of Czerny. He's really extending his lead. 3rd time check. He's taken another 10 seconds out of Czerny over the last chunk. 36 quicker than anybody else. Rowan Dennis is on a demon day. Brian, he has to finish the job, but you back him from here.
Yeah, just looking at the time checks between himself and Czerny. 22 seconds at the first, 28 seconds, and now 36 seconds. So
wow.
Either Czerny suffered towards the end, or Rohan Dennis is getting faster. But it does look as if Rohan Dennis, with the experience he's got in this discipline, is riding a really solid time trial.
Well, Filippo Ganna there on the road, about to head up the climb. Just settling into his effort. A minute or so behind him is Thomas de Gent. There's Jan Tratnik, is being solid as he always is, without really sort of upsetting the party. But again, a minute behind Ganna. Colleague Daniel Lloyd's just reminded me that although we often talk de Gent up because of his power, he's never actually taken a pro win in the time trial. He's always sort of there or thereabouts, but without taking the victory. And obviously, seeing how Dennis is riding here, seeing that Ganna is in front of him, it would have to be something really special today. Will he have a go? Will he keep his eggs in tomorrow's basket for the mountains? We shall see. A special return to the Stelvio for him anyway. Now Ganna, 7 minutes 24 into his effort, hits the 19% ramps, and he is off up the Muro di Ca del Poggio. And he's already got his minute man in sight.
And 2 minute man just in front of him.
Yeah. He's flying already. Here we go, 46% in the red zone. Look at that, 590 watts here, and it's going up. This man is a monster. It's Caicedo who's out there in front of him. There's a Bardiani rider as well. Mamma mia. He's going to be cheered on. He's got that first ramp out the way, but it's still pretty nasty for the remainder of it. So Ganna about to go past Caicedo. Giovanni Carboni is the rider up ahead in the purple. And Caicedo would have thought he was going okay. He was getting close to catching his minute man, and this Ganna comes flying past him, and I think Campanarts knows the score there. Can't see beyond the mask. The expression that we could see, or at least the part that we could see, seemed to suggest that he was realistic. Campanarts in the lead. Dennis poised to take it from him. I think Czerny will get there first for a brief time. But what will Ganna do? It's not just Dennis and Ganna, remember, for Ineos Grenadiers, however. Today's course might be good for Castroviejo. We will see. Ooh, dearie me. Now then, why didn't they get rid of that from the course for today? One thing, isn't it? Plastering it with cushions and what have you, but come on, guys. Dig it up and replant it tomorrow. So Carboni's been passed. And we're going to get our first look at Ganna in numerical terms in just a few hundred metres. Again, this is the first day that we're really paying attention too much to these red zone graphics we're getting. But I think it's telling us that he's going fairly hard, as you'd expect. Putting out 570 watts now. Just for comparison, mere mortals might be able to do that for a few seconds. He's doing it for the best part of an hour here. Certainly being well encouraged, and we're in cycling land. This isn't homeland, by the way, for Ganna. He's over more from the Lombardy side. The final time trial will be his home time trial. There are lots of riders from this Veneto region, however. In fact, the man who set off a minute after Ganna, Andrea Vendrame, is from Conegliano. How's it going, Brian? You're watching the clock and I'm watching your expression.
Yeah, 11:08 is Dennis's time, so it's going to be a close one as he comes towards the top.
It's the bragging rights, and they're being taken by Pipo Ganna right now. If we thought Dennis was on a good day, Ganna is going for it again. It's the Ineos Derby in the time trial. Rowan Dennis versus Pipo Ganna. Half time, it's 0-0. Rainbow stripes on his back. You'd think they'd push him on a little more. Must feel good to wear that. I'll have to ask Brad later on.
The average until this, just to give you an indication, is 40 kilometres an hour.
They're moving a bit, as Mateo Sobrero is around a minute down at the halfway point. Stage win show is underway. Third place as it stands belongs to Matthias Brennle. He set the fastest time early doors, and he was just the 8th rider off the start ramp. Then Kamil Gradek turned up. Really solid ride from the Polish champ. And that was before the world hour record holder, all the way from Flanders, did his stuff as well. Out the saddle, as is his style, always in the last few hundred metres. And Campenaerts 28 seconds quicker. He's the man in the lead. But out on the course, we've been seeing the numbers knocked away. And Rowan Dennis stands to be the man who gets to the finish a little quicker. This is what we saw and how the stats have added up over the time checks. Campenaerts coming out with a 44.46. And as we look at these wonderful hills that belong to the Prosecco Superiore region, a region that gives you all your best sparkling wine from Italy. All the stuff that goes into your spritz. And the bottles that will be sprayed at the end of the day. This man currently favourite to do the spraying. Rowan Dennis hasn't won since joining Ineos yet. I know it's been a funny season, hasn't it? With obviously everything that's going on, and I won't mention the C word where I don't have to yet, because I'm sure there are unfortunately going to be other opportunities and moments where it has to be mentioned. But no win since the World Championships last year, for a year and a month now. As Mikel Biel continues to lose time, and you get the feeling that he's not really going to trouble the scorers like we thought he might. Here is Josef Czerny, who we expect to take the lead here. He's about to go past one of the riders from Bahrain McLaren. That particular rider was Domen Novak. This is Czerny, the Czech, and the time's up on the screen. Let's have a look. 44.46. He is going to set the fastest time. It's going to be quite some ride, this, by Josef Czerny. Those teams who don't have a rider for next year against the clock, look at this man. Czerny is there, he's in the shop window, and he's going to be on the throne. Fastest time so far for Josef Czerny. Oh, what a time for Josef Czerny. World hour record holder, take that. He's blown him off the throne.
49 seconds in the end, very, very impressive when you consider that we've not really seen too much of Czerny, solid rider, but as you say, an excellent time trial there.
I was just telling our viewers who are with us on the digital platforms, on the Eurosport app or the GCN Race Pass, they're watching uninterrupted, by the way, and if you'd like to join them, make sure you subscribe. I was just saying that, you know, CCC team coming to an end, or at least being taken over by the Circus Wanty team. And Josef Czerny, one of those riders from Prague, looking for a contract. This is how we just did what we were talking about. Campenaert's the world hour record holder at 44.46 and 49.6 seconds quicker for a man who has never won a World Tour race. That is one of his career best performances, you have to say. Now then, Ganna going great guns and keeping it upright. They're good, the directors at that, the Giro, aren't they? They throw those replays in and you think, oh, what's happened here? Thankfully, more often than not, it's much of a muchness. There's not too much happening. Now, De Kent. He's doing it to us again. Teasing us, being close to the best. Is he going to pull one off this time? Only 10 seconds slower than Ganna there.
He seems to have a personal battle with Victor Campenaerts. The two of them, a bit friendly battle in these time trials. They try and beat each other.
Joey Rosskopf is an outsider to look for. We know he has good form. He was in the breakaway the other day. He has historically been good against the clock. He's been up there in the US National Championships, hasn't he? And today, another of those men looking to secure a job for next year. Now that was Dennis, and he's coming up to the final 600 metres. We've just seen that career best performance really at this level from Josef Czerny. He's up against Rowan Dennis here, a two-time former world champion who has not won a race in his new team colours. The last time he won a time trial was when he took the rainbow bands in Yorkshire, and Rowan Dennis is certainly going to go into the lead here. This is a wonderful ride. Today he has ridden like the wind. And rather like Czerny a moment ago, it's going to be a similar amount of time that's knocked off. Dennis for the Ineos Grenadiers. Up here in his favourite discipline, and he has gone like lightning. Rowan Dennis, a former winner of a time trial at the Giro. Is he going to do it again? To the line, to the throne, and that is some time. 47.5 kilometres per hour average speed, and 50 seconds as Czerny says goodbye. And Rowan Dennis on a demon day. And after a quiet start to life at the Ineos Grenadiers, that's rather nice to see, Brian.
Definitely for Dennis, and you know, I'm so pleased for him because he really had the worst conditions in the first time trial and didn't want to take any risks, and he's been quiet when you consider that when Geraint Thomas decided, was forced out this race, and then we saw Ineos just going on the offensive, getting in the breakaways, winning stages, getting close to stage wins. And you know, what was Rowan Dennis doing? Well, this is what he was doing. He was waiting for this time trial, and he put everything into it. Even the speed he came up that finishing straight at, he looked as if he was still putting big power down. So, but I still think it's going to be close between himself and Ganna. But I don't think there'll be a lot in it in the end, Rob.
We're watching Jan Tratnik. And this is Filippo Ganna, that internal competition within the Ineos Grenadiers. Ganna won on day one. But as Brian just alluded to, it wasn't exactly fair competition then. Dennis getting those awful conditions. Certainly put in a super ride. The best ride we've seen for a long time from Rowan Dennis, let's be honest. Since that day in Yorkshire. And here he is. What a job he's done. And off he goes into the lead, up onto the throne. That 25 grand machine that's being ridden by Ganna. Of course, no big difference in equipment, though, apart from personal preference, is there? They're in the same team, these guys, with the same mix of bikes. But they'll be set up slightly different because it's a personalised thing, isn't it, in the wind tunnel? Looking at what your best position is, where you're most comfortable. Dennis and Ganna will share intelligence as they're on the same team, but they'll have ever so slightly different setups. This was the difference between them at the first time check, just 1 second. Against third at 10 seconds. The man you're watching is Tratnik, and he's climbing the Colle San Martino. When he gets to to the top. There'll be 5.7 kilometers to go, and he's nearly there. Matteo Sobrero, 5th place at that time check. This is a huge area for cycling. It's a love story, a never-ending story, the Veneto and cycling. And no surprise to see lots of supporters there. And that's one of the typical views, typical bit of Venetian architecture, that tower. I haven't seen too many Venetian flags around yet, actually. Different sort of dark red coloured flags that you see. Little tassels on the end. I'm sure they'll be about somewhere. As Filippo Ganna is taking more time out of Ronan Dennis. 5.4 seconds. And Ganna, not quite there yet, halfway there, but he's in the lead. Bragging rights for the moment, thumbs up. But he might be getting a ribbing on the bus later if this man takes it off him again.
I don't think he'll be disappointed. I think as long as it stays within the team, 2 excellent time trialists. Just looking at the gearing here, he's still got a couple of sprockets left. Good cadence. He's really rolling along this course today. 5 seconds, it's not a lot. This one is going to go down to the wire, I think. But yeah, the world champion certainly on another good day today, but the former world champion is in a hot seat at the moment.
He's got the Muro di Ca del Poggio out the way, those slopes of 19%. But he's got to climb San Martino yet. It's not a classified climb, by the way. Just a 4th category climb, the Muro di Ca del Poggio. It's difficult, but it's only a kilometre long, so 3, 2 and 1 points for the Maglia Azzurra competition there. Don't think we're getting those times, unfortunately. We haven't seen them provided to us. That'll be something I think that has to be... Well, we'll get later on in the communique when we get the results.
I think the way Ganna was going up it, he's the fastest on that first climb, and he'll be picking up a few mountain points on that.
Do you think they're timing it from the start, not from the bottom to the top?
Yeah, definitely from the start of the climb to the top of the climb.
Yeah. Oh, there's that horrible little bit of road furniture again. It's a blind corner, isn't it? I mean, they'll know about it because they'll all have ridden the course, but it's something that could have been sorted, I'm sure. You've seen bits of road structures dug up for one stage and then put back down, haven't we? So just under 15 Ks to go for Ganna. He's got another rider in sight. This nickname, Top Ganna, from the Italian press. Well, missile lock on the next man. That is Giovanni Visconti. Visconti's obviously just been made aware that Ganna's coming past because there's a little look around there. Off you go.
The look of Visconti, just like whoosh.
Joey Roscoff. And that's Jonas Gregard in front of him. And no surprise to see us watching the pilot himself. Remember, Rowan Dennis setting the top time at the finish. So far, each and every time check, the 2 that Ganna's been through, he's been faster. But only by a single second, and then by 5 seconds. Oh, and he knows it's close. Are we going to see anybody going faster than these 2?
Very much doubt it. you know, I think we're looking at the battle for the stage at the moment, and then later on in the day we'll see the battle for the general classification. Feels similar to you're watching a typical stage where the breakaway fight out the stage one and the GC contenders have their own fight.
Maybe Jonathan Castroviejo might have something to say. We will see. You know that Brandon McNulty will go well. We've heard about Kelderman and Almeida. But these two, well, they're different gravy in the time trial, aren't they? Dennis and Ganna. Sagan 14th at the next time check. That was Boado who was next to him, by the way. With Tratnik now a couple of kilometres from the finish. Stage 14 that takes entirely place in the province of Treviso. Colombian fans are out. And we go to the finish now. This is Nico Denz. 50 minutes in. You know that the top time is a long, long way off this man. Dennis with 43 minutes. Denz quite a way down. Saving energy for a potential big job. With Wilco Kelderman having a chance to take the Maglia Rosa maybe. Let's see. Joao Almeida, I'm sure, will have something to say about that. Now, De Gent is still going well. Like we were talking with our colleague Dan Lloyd. He's going well without taking the win, as he often does in time trials. There or thereabouts. Third place provisionally, and I guess he's best of the rest at the minute, outside the Dennis and Ganna bubble. Tratnik coming to the line as well. Always puts in solid time trials. Rowan Dennis knowing he's safe for now. There's so many times you can do that expression, though, when you get fed up with the camera looking at you, and each rider that comes close reaches the finish. Tratnik's given everything. He might even be quicker than Campenaerts here. If so, that's quite a ride from the man from Slovenia. It is quicker than Campenaerts. Well played, Jan Tratnik. Third place provisionally, 1:34 down, but he's beaten the world hour record holder. That last corner perfectly. And up to the finish to sneak into third. 10 Ks to go for the top man in the world. Filippo Ganna, the world champion. Is he going to pick up a hat-trick of stage wins here? And the Ineos Grenadiers could become the joint most successful team in this Giro, despite the fact they lost Geraint Thomas while we were still down in the south. Groupama FDJ have 4 wins. The Ineos Grenadiers looking for number 4. Ganna on his way to number 3, perhaps. He's got this climb coming up. Before then, Brian, we're about to see another time check. 500 metres to go.
Well, as you said, 1 second, 5 seconds, so we've got another indication here. And I'm thinking the way he's riding now, it should be a few seconds faster, but still, I don't think there'll be a huge amount between the time check of Rowan Dennis and this man here, the world champion, Filippo Ganna.
Here he goes then, Ganna. Can see the time check up here. Oh, and he's added quite a few seconds to his lead. Look at that. He's absolutely put the accelerator on there. Yes. 17.76 seconds quicker. Now he's got 9K still to go. It's not a done deal yet. There's climbing, descending, a few twists and technical turns to be taken in. But Ganna is in the pilot's seat now.
Yeah, 12 seconds, so 1, 5, 12. You know, I think for Dennis to win this now, he'll be hoping that in this final drag up here, this final climb, that he starts to struggle a little bit, but by the looks of things, you know, Ghana is getting stronger and stronger and faster and faster.
This is an interesting man to watch today. Hanno Kanga, when this was a really long time trial a few years ago, similar course, same last 25 kilometers or so, he was right up there on the day that Vasid Kirienka won. He wasn't far away, was Kanga. He'd have to roll back the years here. He'll have the freedom to do what he can. When you're up against these guys, it's almost like it's not fair. It's a different competition. It does seem like you see these absolute superstars against the clock, the likes of Ghana and Dennis, and then you've got that competition for the best of the rest. It's like watching Premier League football at the minute. You've got the, what is it, the top 5 or 6, and then it's like there's another mini league below, and the best 6th or 7th team, it's like you've won another league. Right now, it's Thomas again who's in that position. Ganna on his way up Col San Martino. These are the differences after 25 kilometres. 18 seconds from Ganna to Dennis. Czerny in third at 54 seconds. Tratnik in fourth at 1:30. Campenaerts at 1:36. Dennis is the leader in the clubhouse. Right, it's one thing producing these numbers, but for us sitting here, and even now, you're long retired. I know you're still pretty handy on the bike, but you look at these numbers, it's almost incomprehensible for people sitting here, isn't it, to see these guys holding these power numbers for so long. It's incredible.
It definitely is, and I think I remember talking to Sean Yates about the Olympic time trial with Bradley Wiggins, and hopefully we may hear from him later. And you know, I think he was holding about 470, 480 for long periods of that time trial in the Olympics in 2012. But by the looks of what Ghana's doing, it's, you know, over 500 watts. You know, the average is really incredible for anybody that rides. So you see Sobrero, that's a good time for Sobrero, fourth there. 139 down. Yep, 139 down. Solid ride by the young Italian. But yeah, if anybody rides on a home trainer on Swift, they'll see their power outputs, and you know, most people have got they all bang on about this FTP.
This is Chad Hager, Brian. This is Chad Hager, the winner of a time trial in the Giro d'Italia last year. He set off quite a long time before Filippo Ganna. He set off 5 minutes before Filippo Ganna, and the world champion has just gone past him. This is such a special ride.
It is a special ride, but I've been watching Chad Hager because he won that time trial last year. He hasn't been riding full for this time trial, but at the same time, to get caught by 5 minutes, I don't think he would have expected it. But yeah, Chad Hager, I think his job today is not to go full gas in this time trial. It's about getting around, because you know, he'll be hoping that you know, his teammate Wilco Kelderman will take the jersey at some point in the final week, and you know, he'll have to come in to defend it.
We saw that, didn't we, with Nico Denz a minute ago, coming over very, very slowly. But just the image, though, of a time trial stage winner at the Giro d'Italia, setting off 5 minutes before somebody and being passed, I mean, it's an impact. And Filippo Ganna on fire here. Six Ks to the line for the world champion on the roads of northern Italy. He won the time trial in Sicily. He's trying to do it in the Veneto. He's got one on home roads near Milan as well. Already a stage winner from a breakaway too. Had that freedom after Geraint Thomas had to go home. he has been in the form of his life on a Grand Tour debut. He's got ready and got rid of the bidon there, and we're looking at Mikel Biel. Before today's stage, could be considered a bit of, well, one of the favourites to do something special, but he's given a lot, hasn't he, to his team at this Giro d'Italia. And here he's going to be there or thereabouts, 2 seconds slower than Kamil Gradek, but over 2 minutes down on Rowan Dennis. So not maybe what we thought Mikel Biel could be capable of today, but again, I think you have to take into consideration everything he's done for the team and for his own chances from breaks too. He's been non-stop.
He's been one of the revelations of this year's Giro, but just looking at the time of Rowan Dennis of 43 minutes and 6 seconds, I was just doing a bit of calculating there. The time limit today is 30%, so that means it's roughly about 13 minutes on Dennis's time, which means that unfortunately Milano, who crashed in the first few metres of this time trial, he's 15 minutes and 25 seconds down, so I can't really see the commissaires allowing them to start tomorrow.
Bad news for Sebastian Molano, but of course we will confirm any of that news tomorrow when we reconvene for the mountain stage, the last mountain stage of this second week. Only proper mountain stage this week, but we'll hit the Alps and we'll go to Piancavallo. First time we've been there since, I think, the Giro d'Italia that a time trialist won, Tom Dumoulin. Remember that being the last big mountain stage. Mikel Landa was up there winning that day. Rings a bell. That was after another poor piece of luck for what is now the Ineos Grenadiers team. Four Ks to go when he gets past this sign for Filippo Ganna.
And he's not slowing down.
Keep reminding. Sorry, Brian.
And he's not slowing down at all. He's just keeps on powering away, and he's over the worst of this last climb, and he'll soon be descending back into, back towards the finish. But this does look as if he's not slowing any. He's rocking a little bit, just moving back in the saddle there, but he still looks solid.
I was just about to say, we have to remind you all that it's his Grand Tour debut. Yesterday's stage winner, Ulissi. Many stages now as Marco Pantani. 8th stage win, more than Nibali, who has 7. Only Mark Cavendish with 15 among active riders has more stage wins than Diego Ulissi at the Giro d'Italia. But it's his compatriot we are concentrating on here. The man from Verbania, Filippo Ganna. His family have been on the side of the roads. Of course, he's not allowed any contact with them. Father, the canoeist from the Olympic Games back in Los Angeles. Mother's been along as well. Sister Carlotta, girlfriend also Carlotta. They've been together a long time. All the way throughout his progression to this level. He's going to get some homecoming when he returns to that family after this, because he's already achieved very, very special things. Might be allowed a party or two, I think. Here is Peter Sagan. Finishes in 15th provisionally. 4:13 down. Tomorrow the hunt for the Maglia Ciclamino will resume. If he can get up there and take some points at the intermediate sprint. That's the key now, all the way to Asti. Two kilometres to go, most of it downhill for Ganna. Certainly for the next kilometre and a bit.
By the looks of things, he's going to be the only rider going on underneath the 43 minutes today. Rowan Dennis did 43.06, 2 kilometres to go now, and you know, a lot of this downhill. So you can only think how much under 43 minutes is this man going to go?
It was already fastest time trial, wasn't it, for a long time for Ganna at the start of the race. On the opening stage, time trial, followed by stage 5 from a breakaway. That was his first career road race win. He's had the King of the Mountains jersey for 4 days, as well as the Maglia Rosa at the start for a couple of days. Filippo Ganna, there's not much more he could have done at his debut Giro d'Italia. He's got 900 metres to ride against the clock, doing what he does best, his preferred discipline, as he looks to stake stage win number 3 and complete a hat-trick. Round the corner he goes. Remember, Rowan Dennis is in the lead. 43.06.39 his time. It's about to tick past 42 minutes for Ganna, who is top gunning for the line again. He set off well. He was marginally ahead, just under 2 seconds ahead of Dennis at the first time check. He crept up at the second, destroyed his teammate's time at the third, and he looks as though he's set to do the same at the finish line. Dennis put in a very special ride today, but Filippo Ganna has gone galactic at this Giro d'Italia. Up to the line he comes. Nobody's going to get near this. Filippo Ganna to the line, on his way to a hat-trick. 42.40 and 48 k's an hour over 34 k's in the Prosecco Hills. There's a cork or two to pop for Filippo Ganna yet again, you feel. He goes into the hot seat. It will take something extremely special to beat that man. That time, the world champion, looking every bit like that rainbow jersey fits him perfectly. Ganna and his teammate admiring his handiwork. Super people. Incredible.
Well, that's the stage over with. Right, let's look at the GC.
We don't wish to be killboys, or killjoys, I should say, by suggesting that no one's going to get near it, but it's so hard to see that, isn't it? Unless Castroviejo can pull something out, or who knows?
No, that's it. That's the stage winner. But more importantly, we've got the GC battle, which I think is just as intense.
Perhaps more, because this is where we can really get surprises. And everybody's, you know, you've been saying, we heard from Dowsett, yeah, we expect differences, but not big. But in these time trials, Brian, 2 weeks into a race, a lot of people who have never ridden, I mean, the Maglia Rosa has never ridden a race longer than 10 days. These are the sorts of days where you don't want them to happen, but somebody in the top 10 could really have a disaster and fall away.
But the question is, what is a big difference? Because I think that some of the GC contenders are going to be losing, basing it on Almeida, they could be losing over 1 minute to the to the other. So that to me
will be acceptable, I'm sure, for a lot of riders.
Yeah, that's quite a decent. It won't be a matter of, within 15, 20, maybe 30 seconds. I think there will be some time gaps of over a minute.
Contender number 3 from Ineos Grenadiers. Come on down. Jonathan Castroviejo, the former Spanish national champion, couldn't take part in the national championships this year because of the bubble situation. So the jersey's gone to Pello Bilbao, his compatriot, both from Spain and the Basque Country. Castroviejo is a Basque rider from the town of Getxo. He's long been Spain's best time trialist for a while, hasn't he?
Quality time trialist, gets very, very low on aerodynamic, and now that Ineos are 1 and 2, can Castroviejo make it a 1, 2, 3? That's what they will be thinking. But I think that an exceptional time from Joseph Czerny from CCC. I think that could possibly be good enough for third on the stage today.
Spettacolare. Well done. And as Brian said, that was 1-2. Is this 3? We're getting towards the GC battle. Castroviejo, up there himself, really, inside the top 20. When we get to the top 15, that we will start to see the riders go out at 3-minute intervals and not 1. I'm talking of 3s, this is the top 3 so far. Josef Czerny, one of the rides of his life. Really good rider. I do hope that people looking to sign riders sit up and take notice of this performance. Czech champion has showed he can really mix it with the best today. Then came Rowan Dennis. Best time trial ride for him, I'm pretty certain, since he won the World Championship in Harrogate in 2019. Nice to see him back to his best. I think he'll feel good, despite the fact he's not going to take a stage win today. He'll certainly feel better knowing that provisionally on top of the podium is his teammate Filippo Ganna. Ganna putting on a show and looking for his 3rd stage win. Just 2 weeks into his debut Grand Tour. Going to be difficult to dislodge him. Let's go to the interview mics and see what the general view is.
Il tuo quasi parente Ganna sta facendo oggi, è il favorito,
almost
batterlo.
Sì, penso che
sort of relation. Ganna's doing well.
Penso sia imbattibile.
Yeah, I think
come ha già dimostrato,
it's unbeatable, really. I think he's unbeatable.
Penso che comunque anche oggi se la meriti.
I think today deserves the win as well. He's been working really hard for the last year or so.
Complimenti a lui.
And even before that, so well done to him. Congratulations. We're on Thomas again to watch. Yet again, he's going to put in a wonderful performance. Once more, he's not going to win a time trial as a professional. That is really special from Thomas again now. 43.51, he's given his all. Only 2 former world champions are in front of him. Quicker than Czerny, and Thomas Kent winning the battle for the best of the rest. Can't say he doesn't have form, Brian.
Up there yesterday, you know, battling it out with Peter Sagan and the likes, and 24 hours later he's putting in performances like that, and he'll be out tomorrow morning trying to get in the breakaway as well. You know, you've got to love Thomas the Tank.
He's certainly an engine, isn't he? It's going to feel funny for him. I hope it feels special for him going back to the Stelvio if we get there with the weather. Because it's such an important place in his career. Gave him his best ever GC result, but I think the experience of that Giro d'Italia and what came after with the pressure from the Belgian press then defined what sort of rider he was going to be. And it gave us the Thomas the Tank of today. You know, this attacking rider who doesn't have to worry about the general classification, but who almost has the strength of a GC leader and can apply it on certain days. And he's just a really special rider to watch.
I witnessed him in the Tour of Britain many years ago when he was winning the sprints competition, when he was winning the mountains competition, just by getting in a breakaway every day. And at the time he was riding for, I think, the Sport Flandern team, or you know, that team. Jean-Pierre Hendricks was the sports director, and every day I went up and I went again in the breakaway, and he was just like, shaking his head and laughing, but you know, he's at the last laugh because, you know, his career, maybe like we do with some other riders, we kind of criticise him a little bit because we expect so much from him. When he goes to the front early on and tries to ride the peloton off his wheel. I think it was in the second stage where he just did a long attack, and everybody else, I think 4 riders he took with him, they were just trying to kind of hang on to his wheel and thinking, if we can stay in this wheel, we make the breakaway of the day. That's the sort of rider he is, and when he starts these road stages, he's got a target in his back. He rides right up towards the front line. Everybody's expecting what he can do. Not everybody can go with him, however, but I just don't think he's got that big burst of power that maybe he had before, of getting in breakaways. And you know, he had a bit of a laugh going through the Tour de France, that he didn't manage to get in that breakaway and get an opportunity for a stage, but it does look as if with that time trial performance and the way he's going here, he was up there yesterday at the pointy end. It's, you know, that stage is possibly coming.
With Castroviejo. Vuelta España will start on his home roads, actually, in Euskadi, Basque Country. The first stage is scheduled to be in Euskadi, and then they go to a Basque-speaking region, which isn't officially in the what is the modern-day Basque Country, the official Basque Country. That's in Navarra, but it is what they call an Euskaldun region, which is a Basque-speaking region. After that, we go on to Aragon and up into France, hopefully, if the snow goes away from the Tourmalet. And again, the seaward stays away. Vuelta España that's due to start on Tuesday. But Jonathan Castroviejo hopefully will be still racing on the roads of Italy. One more week to go at the Giro d'Italia. With the news coming through from RCS this morning that all the extra tests that they carried out came back negative. Hundreds of them, by the way. The fog that was around Milan has started to clear. Of course, we've one more rest day full testing to get through before we get there, but it's looking better. And Castroviejo is taking on this really difficult climb, the Muro di Ca del Poggio, 1.1 kilometers long, 12.3%. Back to Tanel Kanga. We said last time on these roads he did really well, and he's going the same time as Thomas de Gent. That stage in 2015 where Vasil Kirienka won, Kanga was right up there. It was a different time trial in the distance. It was almost 60 Ks on that day. As we see Fabro. A really good job yesterday for Sagan. I think it was Conti who did the biggest damage, didn't he, on that last climb, though. Really helping set things up for Ulissi and taking Sagan out of the game. But looking back at that time trial 5 years ago, it was also the 14th stage. It was raining cats and dogs that day. I remember it was filthy, horrible weather. You know that Kirienka won, Sanchez second, Contador was at 14 seconds. Talking differences, Aru had an absolute Western super, didn't he? He was at 3 minutes and 1, and he lost in the fight for the pink jersey that day. That was really the day that Contador took it, and of course he won the Giro without winning a stage, Alberto Contador. That was his final Giro win, his second official win, but of course, as we saw, he still got all 3 trophies because he won it on the road, didn't he, in 2011 before he had it taken away from him. Third of his maybe unofficial wins. But Kanga, we were talking about, he was 6th on that day, Brian. He finished at 1 minute 17 seconds. Fabio Felline in this Giro is in the top 10 too. And of course, the only other man who started this Giro in the top 10 on that day was Steven Kruijswijk, who was 5th on the day, but obviously, unfortunately, having to go home with that positive coronavirus test this time. Plenty of encouragement for Andrea Vendrame on the road. He was born and raised in Conegliano. We didn't get to see him on the screen. I thought that the directors might have given us a shot. I guess his problem is I think he went a minute after Filippo Ganna, so he was too close to Ganna for us to have a look at Vendrame. He was never going to be in the mix for a win today, but always nice to show the local riders. When we get to UAE Emirates, and Brandon McNulty, he'll want to follow in the footsteps of another local rider. I think we'll talk about him once we see McNulty on the course. And those of you who are wondering, Marzio Bruseguin, remember him? He's got quite a story with this region and with Giro time trials. You could be Mr. Prosecco himself with Marzio Bruseguin, given that he makes it. Here's Castroviejo, and we're getting our first answers. 33 seconds is a lot to make up if he's to compete with his teammates, Brian Smith.
Yeah, I don't think many people can compete with the time of Ganna today, but you know, Castroviejo will do a good time trial going on that, because Ganna was just so quick up that climb at the start.
Well, that tower up above Conegliano, the castle of Conegliano, has a little courtyard and a very small bar with a lovely view over to Conegliano itself. And back in 2011, our good colleague, food expert Jonathan Harris-Bass and I sat on that balcony and had a glass of Prosecco looking over Conegliano. Absolutely glorious views. And even if you're not into the wine itself, this region is really worth a visit. You see Zaccarin coming over one of those hills, the Cadel Poggio, 25.7 down, so quicker than Castroviejo. And we know that Zaccarin can time trial, by the way. Just not been as good as he was early in his career. I think he's a former Russian champion. Yeah, this region, certainly if you like riding your bike, not just because of the hills and the scenery, but because cycling is a religion around here as well. So many development teams. And when we come to the Maglia Rosa, Joao Almeida actually used to ride for a local development team just down the road, the Trevigiani. Brian already talked about the makes of bike and equipment and components, certainly around Treviso. And the bike that these guys are riding, Pinarello, I think they'll be happy to win at home, won't they? And it will be a home win if Ganna can hold on. One of his big challenges here hasn't really set off how he'd wanted to have set off. And that's the main square down in Conegliano. Beautiful theatre there. The memories are flooding back now. I remember we went walking down the main street at the bottom there looking for a laundrette. That's the bit of the Grand Tours that I'm not missing, Brian Smith, of being on site. Traipsing around on the rest there looking for a laundrette. Look at the colour of that tower as well. The sun against it. Beautiful. Back with Ulissi. Has to go down statistically as one of the most successful Italian riders in recent Giro d'Italia history. He's one of those guys, I think, when he retires, everybody will realise how good he actually was, because at the minute, he's always talked about, but he's very rarely the big favourite that everybody talks about. Diego Ulissi has been a Rolls Royce of a bike rider recently. 8 stages at the Giro d'Italia. Not many people do that. There's Ganna. He could be a man who does that, because he's already got 3 maybe. He's certainly got 2.5. Let's wait to see if anybody can get near him later on today. Another ginormously quick ride from Pippo Ganna. Super Pippo. On his way to a hat-trick. Not since his namesake Inzaghi have we had that. A hat-trick from a Super Pippo. It's Castroviejo. "33 seconds down at the first time check. Would have to do something pretty special to make up time to compete for the Ineos bragging rights and the stage win, which he was one of the favourites before the start of the day. And there was that eternal wondering from everybody, would this course suit the specialists? That big hill at the start, 14 days into a Grand Tour. Well, so far, if you look down at the numbers, it is the specialists who have really put in the top times.
Yeah, if we look down, the top 10 with Ghana, Dennis, Thomas de Gent in fourth place there, Czerny. Thomas de Gent in third place. We're going to hear from him soon. Czerny, Tratnik, Sobrero, good ride by him. Campanarts, Biel, Gradik and Matthias Brenly. With Alex Dowsett just down there in 11th.
Brendan McNulty. The GC battle starts here. UAE Emirates have taken 2 time trial wins down the years at the Giro d'Italia, both taken by local rider Marzio Bruseghin. He was born and raised in Conegliano. Sparkling wines, Bruseghin doing the job for them as Roscoe puts in 10th here. McNulty looking to channel local knowledge and looking to channel the history that Bruseghin had in this race. 2007, 2008 when he won his time trials in the Giro, what was then the Lampre team. He finished once on the podium of the Giro in 2008 and a further 3 times in the top 10 over the course of his career. He's now a local winemaker. The team's now UAE Emirates, and can McNulty take that history on to do something? It's his discipline, McNulty, the man from Arizona. He could be rising further up into the top 10 today. Here's Castroviejo on the road. Let's go and hear from a man who's finished, Thomas de Gent.
Thomas, back to your performance. I mean, it's been a great one. What do you think?
I think I did the best TT possible for me. I was not losing any speed at any point. Some corners I did not do 100% well, but also not really bad. So in general, I think it was a good TT for me. I did my best. I had a good feeling the whole time. I was on my limit, but that's normal in a TT. Yeah, I could do the power numbers that I was hoping to do.
As a TT specialist, may I ask you, what do you expect from the GC guys? Do you expect big differences?
I don't know. Maybe if you have a bad day, then you can lose a lot. But it's a really hard TT. It suits the climbers really well. Like Nibali, like Kelderman, Almeida, they all have a good TT, but they climb as well really well. So somebody that is not good at time trialing can still reduce their loss on this TT. It's not the same like a totally flat time trial where aerodynamics is really the key. This is more the power TT, then climbers will do well.
Ganna impressed you a lot? He's unbeatable at the moment?
He's unbeatable. You didn't even have to ask anybody who is going to win today. I think everybody would have put Ganna at first. So the question is more who will be on position 2, 3, 4 and 5. That's the bigger question.
You heard it from Thomas de Gent. Ganna winning. Who else is going to be up there? Ganna is on his way to the victory. But we are now into the fight for the general classification. McNulty has started. And now they're all split up by 3 minutes. We have Gegenhardt already on the road as well. Knox is riding, but of course he'll be trying to keep his position whilst also thinking about tomorrow. It's difficult for the Koenig Quick-Step, I guess, because they've got 3 guys in the top 20. But realistically, only one's going to win the race. So what do you do, Brian?
Yeah, that is a problem. But I think definitely you know, the pink jersey is their priority, but you know, they do have enough support to look after every one of them. But yeah, we're getting into the kind of meaty end of the GC battle now, as you say, going off at 3-minute intervals. We'll get the first kind of indications only after 7.4 kilometres at the first checkpoint. Don't think anybody's going to be beating the time of Filippo Ganna, but yeah, we're now into this GC battle and let it commence.
Well, it is underway on the road. Next man to start is Masnada. Micah after that, then Hindley, Conrad, Nibali, Pozzo Vivo into the top three with Bilbao, Kelderman, and at 15:52, 8 minutes to 4 local time. For all of you watching in UK and Ireland, I know that forms a large part of our audience. That is at 14:52, so 8 minutes to 3 your time. And I know Saturday 3 o'clock everything kicks off, but it's kicking off a little earlier here. Brandon McNulty, serious contender. This is the day where he would expect to take time on a lot of rivals, Brian.
I think so. He's already shown this discipline is, you know, one that he's got some strength in. He's ridden well. His goal is to get in the top 10, and I think he can do that. You know, led out his teammate yesterday to a nice stage when he's second of the Giro, and you know, you have to think that this is time for McNulty to show in this time trial and take some time out, as you say, Rob, and the other GC contenders.
And he's only 22. I know we've been talking about Joao Almeida at that age, and we heard about the young guns having their fun at the Tour de France. Hirschi in fantastic form. Of course, the eventual winner, Tadej Pogacar, even younger. But McNulty's still only 22, the man from Phoenix, Arizona. And here's a man who's already won a Giro d'Italia stage. He's been a great signing mid-season for the Koenig Quick-Step. Initially with the idea of coming here to support Remco Evenepoel, Fausto Masnada in the top 10, doing a brilliant job for Joao Almeida. His task here, to stay in the top 10 for his personal ambition. Tomorrow, he'll be back working for Joao Almeida. From Arizona, just outside Venice, 22 years of age, Brandon McNulty. Spotted by UAE Emirates, taken from the North American team Rally Cycling. It's his first year on the World Tour, and he's up against seasoned professionals like Jakob Fuglsang. The most unlucky of the GC contenders still in the race, of course, Geraint Thomas and Steven Kruijswijk having to go home. Simon Yates as well. They're the three guys who've had the biggest slices of misfortune. But Jakob Fuglsang with those mechanicals and problems, well, he's still in the race, but he's got a bit of time to make up in 10th place. Whereas Zakharin is a minute down at the time check. Well, McNulty on the road. We're into the GC fight now, into the top 10. Micah will be the next man to start. Ganna in the rainbow jersey. Let's bring in another former rainbow jersey. Let's bring another former Grand Tour winner. Brad Wiggins is alongside us. Good afternoon. Oh, we thought he was there. He'll be alongside in a minute, I promise. Here's Brandon McNulty in the meantime. Lots of supporters from all over Europe. You see the different languages plastered on that Ca del Poggio climb. I wonder if there's any Venetian on there. I know they've got quite a strong dialect around here, and a lot of local riders to cheer on. And McNulty is on his way up the climb. Talked about the fact that if they wanted it, the team could count on a former rider for local knowledge. Marcio Bruseghin. He finished his career with Movistar after being with Lampre for all those years. And there is the leader. I think he knows he's going to be sitting on that hot seat until the end.
10 seconds.
Micah. Next man to start. Time trial, never his strongest point, and again, there's a real difference between people who think they can take time today, Brian, and others who will just be looking to limit losses. I think, Mikey, you'd put him in the latter count, wouldn't you?
Yeah, from history in the first time trial, I think, you know, he will lose over a minute in Almeida. But it's, you know, whether this time trial will suit him better than others, I think it will. But yeah, Mike in the past hasn't produced a great time trial. However, Conrad is a different kettle of fish altogether. I think Conrad could do well in this time trial.
Conrad already basically in pole position to be the main guy for general classification for Bora, because he's picked up a few bonus seconds, hasn't he? But again, when you get to the high mountains, Micah has history of being up there and just hanging tough. They want to keep both cards available to play if they can. Here's Diego Ulisi with those 8 Giro d'Italia stage wins to his name. None of them in the time trial. The sort of guy that in shorter stage races where he's had to try and fight out maybe for a bit of GC, he's been able to defend himself okay. And he's not ridden a bad race here today. He's not a national time trialist, but he's put in a performance that's only a couple of seconds slower than Alex Dowsett. Well played, Diego Ulisi. Great ride, super form.
When you get good legs, this is what happens, and you know it's a type of course that is going to suit the likes of Diego Ulisi with the couple of climbs, both of them very different.
So we're with Fulsang. Which camp would you put Fulsang in here? Can he gain time today, or is it hanging on and hanging tough?
I don't think he'll gain time in Almeida. I think maybe not as bad as the likes of Micah we were just talking about, but for Fulsang it's about limiting losses, and if he can stay within about 30 seconds of Almeida, then I think that's a super job.
Wow, sorry to interrupt, Brian, but look at that start from Brandon McNulty. It might be game on here. Just 5.7 seconds slower than Filippo Ganna. Wow.
Yeah, huge start for McNulty, and that'll give him great confidence. You know, the car will let him know that, and so far so good for McNulty. And as we were saying earlier on when we saw him from the start, this is a big opportunity for him to move up and, you know, strengthen his GC opportunity.
Well, that is a real turn up for the books. We knew that McNulty would be one of the stronger riders. He started brilliantly. Next on the start ramp, he's got the Best Young Riders jersey on. It's Jai Hindley from Australia. He rides for Sunweb. Again, Sunweb, another of those teams with 2 riders high up, rather like Bora. Kelderman in 2nd, Hindley in 7th, and Hindley is on his way.
So Fulsang on this climb, top of it 7.4 into the stage. It's just over 1 kilometres in length, 12.3, 19% at the bottom, 16% at the top. And most riders are just riding as best as they can in this climb, not really going into the red. But saying that, we saw Filippo Ganna coming up this climb and monstered it. Daniel Kangert is producing a good top 10 performance here. He's performed well in this area in the time trial in the past. Going to lie 5th place for the moment at 43 minutes and 13 seconds, 1.5 minutes slower than Filippo Ganna, but many riders in this ballpark as well. So a good strong performance by the Estonian rider, riding for Education First. So at the moment we have Ganna, Dennis, against Czerny, and we can see Kangert just finishing here, going into a solid top 5 performance. But some riders out in the course already, GC contenders showing some good times, with Brandon McNulty already over the top of this climb that Fuglsang is on at the moment. You can just see the cadence of Fuglsang, just wanting to get up this climb, not going to the reds, and then battle it out for the rest of the time trial course.
That was good to see from Kangat there. Really good to see. 6th last time, 5th provisionally at the minute. And there is Jakob Fuglsang. We're going to welcome our television viewers back in just a moment. Fuglsang, though, looks like he's losing a bit of time, certainly on McNulty. 29.29. So if you compare that to McNulty, it's around 24 seconds in favour of the man from the United States already. McNulty, remember, starting the day just behind him, already leaping above him in the GC. Next starter. Patrick Conrad. Welcome back to all of you watching on the television around the world. Jakob Fuglsang has just shown viewers watching uninterrupted on the Eurosport app or the GCN Race Pass that he's losing around 25 seconds to this man, Brandon McNulty, on stage 14 of this year's Giro d'Italia. It's the second of the time trials. It's the wine trial this year in Prosecco country. And McNulty, as it stands, is set to go above Jakob Fuglsang in the general classification. It's tense, it's tight. We've seen a wonderful performance by Filippo Ganna. It looks as though Super Pippo is going to take the stage unless McNulty can threaten him. 5 seconds slower at the first time check. Alongside us in the commentary box, former world time trial champion, Tour de France winner Brad Wiggins. Good afternoon.
Hello, you okay?
How are we?
Yes, not too bad. We've had a few technical issues, but we're back.
We're back, we're ready to go. No technical issues for Pippo Ganna. First of all, impressions on that performance?
It was incredible. I mean, we've been calling it for a few days. He's the king of the time trials. When he wins spectacular. You know, it's interesting, Alex Dowsett, I saw his interview, he said that, you know, it's harder for the big guys, but Ganna's about as big as they come. And the way he went up that climb, the way he holds his position on the flat, the watts he was holding, the distribution of the power on the sections of road where he's going to gain the most time, he nailed it, you know, and he obviously was second up on Rowan Dennis up the first climb, but he continued taking time after that, really. So it was just, it was a fantastic ride, and once again, I can't see anyone I think they're the first two for sure, unless McNulty can slip in between them, but I can't see anyone beating Ganna at this stage.
Yeah, McNulty riding for a team that's won 2 time trials down the year. Going back in the era, talking about Marzio Bruseguin, the only man to win time trials at the Giro for what was Lampre back in the day. Of course, it's a very different team now, UAE Emirates. They're one of the top teams in the world. I think they've won as many World Tour races as anyone else in the world this year. And with McNulty out there, on his way to the top 10, just 22 years of age, Fuglsang losing time. Yeah. Are you expecting big shifts like that amongst the top 10
Well, I mean,
today?
just looking there, we've been running for 14 minutes, Jakob. I just noticed he took a drink of his bottle and put it back in his bottle cage. Time trial this length, you don't need a bottle. You know, a gel at the top of the climb would be enough, sufficient. You know, it just shows that the concentration, you know, you can't blow up in 40 minutes of effort, 45 minutes of effort. And it just shows the kind of lack of expertise, I suppose, in this discipline for someone like Jakob. His concentration should be on his effort, not taking a drink and putting his bottle back in the cage. You know, that's kind of where it lets himself down in these disciplines, I think, is that lack of kind of awareness of people noticing things like that just forget your drink, just go for it. It's 40 minutes, you're not going to blow up. And it's a shame, really, because I spot little things like that and I feel like I could help someone like him.
Astana, come and get you. Vincenzo Nibali's on the road here. Always a man who's just going to keep plugging away, chipping away to Milan. What we're sort of expecting from him here, because, I mean, he's never been one to really sort of blow away anybody in a time trial, but he rarely has a really bad one.
Vincenzo, he's experienced. This is his week now, coming into that third week. Really, this is where we're going to see what what Vincenzo's got left in the tank, really, for his career more than anything. You can't imagine him having too many great days on the bike after this year. The older he gets, it's maybe his best days are behind him. I don't know. You never underestimate him. He's still got something, but he'll limit his losses today. He'll get through this. That's one thing you can guarantee with Vincenzo is he will ride through this time trial. He will limit his losses to the best of his ability, and however much time he loses on this man, Filippo Ganna, or his other GC rivals, he's not going to let it affect how he performs in the third week. This will have no bearing on whether he attacks or tries to win the Giro. Vincenzo will just do this. He's a consummate professional, get through the race and see where his time loss is to his nearest rivals. But one thing's for sure, he could lose 4 minutes today. That will not stop him going out on Tuesday when we get into that third week and not think he can win this race.
Yeah, if you think back to the last time he won the Giro d'Italia, actually, he was a long way back, wasn't he? Because Kruijswijk was in the pink jersey and crashed out. Then it went to Chavez, and we had that wonderful couple of stages where first Scarponi went in the breakaway and set them an attack for Vincenzo Nibali. Then we saw Kangert doing the same. As we're going to have a look at Geoghegan Hart here. He's going to come across the second time check, the halfway point in 13th place, 1 minute and 8 down. Another key day for this man to see if he can get close to the top 10 as well.
Yeah, he's had a cracking race, hasn't he? He's really come of age. We'll think all the expectation and pressure, maybe we heaped on him last year when we were at Giro d'Italia, talking about him stepping up as the team leader of Ineos or Sky as it was then. Well, was it? I can't remember what they were last year, but trying to get step up to that top 10 GC, and he's really done that this year. And obviously he's in 13th, 14th place at the moment, but this third week is going to be a huge week for him.
Micah losing 32 seconds to Ganna, but of course let's compare the GC guys to McNulty. That was almost 30 seconds. Difficult day in prospect for Domenico Pozzovivo. 4th in the standings at 1 minute and 3. It's as best you can for Pozzovivo, who's obviously limited physically just by his size and position on the bike, Brad.
Yeah, I mean, he has produced some good time trials in the past. I think it was the Vuelta one year. I think he finished 3rd in a time trial, and he can pull them out the bag. He's got that sort of funny little arm warmer on his arm to cover his bandages and stuff, which, he's probably obviously struggling. He may struggle to sit in that tri-bar position if he's got cuts and things on his elbow. So, there might be other factors that will limit him more today.
Well, watching Fuglsang here, you talked about Nibali a moment ago, maybe not having too many big days on the bike left. He's 36 next month, is Vincenzo Nibali, and even if he wins the Giro d'Italia here, it will be such a special achievement because he would become the oldest rider ever in the history of this race to win it. And if you think that, this is like all these big bike races started as something very different a long, long time ago. Fiorenzo Magni was 35 when he won in 1955. Here in 2020, Brandon McNulty is fast becoming one of the new big names in GC racing. Brian Smith is back with us, 15 seconds down on Ganna there at the halfway point. He is absolutely flying.
This is huge performance from Brandon McNulty, and we know that he's got a good time trial in him. Up there at the Junior World Championships, I remember watching that and commentating over it, and I knew he would have an upward trajectory, but he chose to do it at his level. You mentioned it early on, he went to Rally Cycling, the kind of second division American team, but him winning Tour of Sicily last year, I think, kind of vaulted him up in the expectations of some of the World Tour teams, and he's now shown what I think we thought many years ago he could produce. He's just done it a little bit slower than maybe some other riders.
Well, Nibali out here. Still to start, we have the podium. Next up will be Pello Bilbao, who's the Spanish national champion. Then Wilco Kelderman. Up and down TT form in his career. Promised a lot, didn't he? But we know he's had injuries and problems. And then Joao Almeida on adopted home roads. He rode for a season in the juniors for the Trevigiani team down the road. And he's also ridden this nasty climb that Nibali's about to take on in a moment, the Muro di Cadelpoggio, because they took it on in the under-23 Giro a couple of years ago. Nibali will have been to perform reconnaissance here. Brad, in a time trial, how important is it to know the course?
Well, I mean, for me, it was always very, very important because it was something that I saw as somewhere where I could gain as much time as possible, maybe on the likes of Nibali and that, as opposed to the mountains where they probably were better than me. So it was very important for me, particularly if on a time trial like this where the distribution of the power, because you've got a climb, you've got some flats, you've got some descents, was very important, knowing every corner, knowing every little turn to gain as much possible time as possible. So we'd always make sure that we would look at these time trials, you know, in as much detail, because we saw it as one of the key things to gain time.
This team, the Koenig Quick-Step, have certainly had a really good look at the course. This is Masnada we're watching now. He's 9th overall, but remember Remco Evenepoel was supposed to be the man who was to ride general classification for the Koenig Quick-Step at the start of the year. They came in July when we'd just all come out of lockdown. They did a training camp just up the road in Val di Fassa. One day they came down with Evenepoel, with a few of the other riders, and they had a really good look at the roads. This man will know it all. And Filippo Ganna is in the lead. Brandon McNulty, the closest to the GC guys to him. Really super start. And again, just because Joao Almeida's been the big youngster up there, I haven't talked about the fact that he's only 22. Another UAE Emirates project, another Inigo San Millán project as well. The coach who lives over in Colorado, the Spanish coach who's been in America for a long time now, he is one of the riders coached by him, as is Tadej Pogačar. And you have to hand it to Josean Fernandez Machin for spotting all this young talent and taking them over to UAE. Now let's get a time check on Fuglsang. 1:02 down from Ganna, but of course we're looking at the time from McNulty, and that's 47 seconds lost to McNulty. 47 seconds, and McNulty, as it stands, going ahead of Jakob Fuglsang into the top 10. Jakob Fuglsang dropping out of the top 10 right now. Brad, during the time trial in a GC battle, all of these differences to teammates, it's not something you're too aware about, is it? Certainly if you're not, you know, we're not talking about that final time trial that we had and we witnessed, didn't we, between the two Slovenians. You're concentrating on your own effort, surely.
Yeah, you have to. It's key in the time trial because, you know, if you start racing other people, you can mess it up pretty bad. And I think, but at the same time, you need to be aware of. You know, I say that, I contradict myself a little bit because I would just try and ride from A to B as fast as possible because ultimately that's what you got to do. And you know, you can't, a lot of people try and match people in time trials and raise their pace. And once you start doing that, you know, the whole thing goes out the window. So in some cases, the splits you have with the radio, you would ask for specific riders. So can I just have a time check on this person or this person? And it's more just for confirmation that your effort is matching what you think. So if you went into a time trial as the favourite, you know, and you were 20 seconds up at a split, it's confirmation. And then if anything, that spurs you on even more. But then on the other flip side of that, as we saw at the Tour de France with Pogačar and Roglic, it's not a nice place to be when you're just constantly losing time and there's nothing you can do about it.
6th place provisionally for Jonathan Castroviejo. Not the best time trial he's ever produced, but at the minute it's Ineos Grenadiers with a 1-2. There won't be too much of a complaint back in Camp Ineos. It's Ganna, Dennis, De Kent, the top 3. And here's Patrick Conrad. Ooh, 40.8 seconds down. That's not a great start, Brian, for him.
I was just looking at that, 40 seconds for Conrad at that moment. We're talking about compared to Filippo Ganna. And Rafael Majka for Bora 32 seconds at that point. Jai Hindley 44 seconds, so you know, 4 seconds down. Masnada not too bad, 27 seconds down at that moment. Theo Gegenhardt was 42 seconds down. And we saw the second checkpoint there with Fuglsang going through at 1:02 when you consider that Brandon McNulty was 15 seconds down to Ganna again at that stage, who was fastest at every checkpoint. But unfortunately for Theo Gegenhardt, he's lost a little bit more time at 1:08, so maybe not the best day for Theo today.
3 time checks along the course, so we'll get constant look at the riders. We get one at the top of this climb that Vincenzo Nibali's on now. It's the Muro di Ca del Poggio. It's the most difficult of the climbs. And here we go to Fausto Masnada. A minute down. That is, at this point, again, 45 seconds down, rather like Jakob Fuglsang. And again, McNulty could be in danger of getting close to Fausto Masnada by the end of this. This is laying and sowing the seeds, isn't it, for a real GC challenge this week from the American.
Looking good when you consider he was here up there leading out to Elisa yesterday, looking strong. He attacked in the day that Sagan won, gained a few seconds in the GC battle behind, and you know, he's really setting his sights on this time trial today and gaining time. And when you consider the GC contenders through the second checkpoint are all around about, you know, a minute behind Filippo Ganna's time, 15 seconds in third place. Brandon McNulty, you know, he's putting 45, 50 seconds into the other GC contenders at the moment.
Get your watches out right now, because Vincenzo Nibali is coming up to the time check. He's slower than Micah, than Roscoff, than Biel. 35 down on Ganna. That's 30 seconds to McNulty as well. We've only one man left to start, and here he is. Maglia Rosa, 22-year-old Joao Almeida. If he keeps the Maglia Rosa today, he'll have more pink jerseys at this age than Eddy Merckx did. He's the Portuguese sensation. It's a huge day for him, but a day that if he performs to his very best, he should be able to increase his lead in the Maglia Rosa. Leading the Giro d'Italia at 22. Brad, you've been leading a Grand Tour going into a decisive time trial. Talk us through what happens from when you get up in the morning. How's the day and the approach to the effort itself?
Well, it starts the night before, really. I mean, the minute I finish the stage, we get on the time trial bike, start reacquainting yourself with that. You know, it's a very, very solitary, very lonely existence on time trial day. You very rarely talk to other people. If you're sharing with another roommate, they will leave a lot earlier than you. Everyone's on their own individual program, so there's not a lot of talking done. You'll come down to breakfast, there'll be, you know, if you start late in the day, all your teammates have already left for the start. You'll eat alone. You know, you'll go to, if you remember the Stars and Water Carriers, Rob, the film, you know, where Ole Rita sat at the table having his breakfast on time trial day. That's just, I always remember that, and I can really resonate with that. He's sort of peeling the orange before he goes off to the time trial, and you know, it's just like that. And then you get to the start, the bus might be empty, might be one or two riders left that are just about to leave and go do their time trial. So it's a really lonely day. You know, it's very, and added into that, you might get one or two teammates that have finished early that come back to the bus that just play with your mind, and they might say to you, watch this corner, don't do this, I wouldn't use this front wheel if I was you, I would change your gears now. And you've got this plan, and they come in, they think they're helping, but all they're doing is like toying with you. And then it's just, you know, everything's set out really, and you will have a little laminated card with your timings on, so breakfast at this hour, get to the start warming up, and all day it's like that, until you get back to the evening, until you get to dinner table. And most of the people have eaten as well, because they've been early massage, early dinner. So you end up having dinner on your own as well.
Not a nice day then. Only nice if you manage to put the time into everybody.
Well, it's lovely when you're out here.
Jersey fit a little more snugly.
Yeah, it's lovely when you're out on the road. It was my favourite part of the place in the world, was being out on the road on the time trial.
Well, this isn't a bad place to be. Look at all the supporters here for Pello Bilbao. The fervour with which they live their cycling in the Veneto. We've talked about Pinarello, all of the locals who've ridden here. There's some big names, big brands from here. Pello Bilbao is from another of those regions, from the Basque Country. And here he is wearing the Spanish national jersey, third in the Giro d'Italia, looking to stay on the podium. Pozzovivo on a bit of the climb and a bit of the time trial that will suit him. A second quicker than Fuglsang. We've already heard that Nibali thinks Pozzovivo's in the form of his life at 37 years of age. Bilbao riding well here. Big day for him, I guess, Brian. He's gotten pretty far, 2 weeks in, still looking good, still on the podium. I guess there's no hiding places they're here against the clock.
And he went for it the other day. He tried to gain time. He tried to take the pink jersey, and you know, good to see that he's prepared to ride it a little bit more aggressively. And like we said earlier on, he's got the national time trial champion skin suit on, so you know you want to show that to the best of his ability. But you know, I think it's nice to see that you know he's here. You know, he's riding a good GC. I think this will be a big test for him, and today, possibly tomorrow, and then we'll get into the rest day and then we'll look at it. But at least the team of Barry McLaren are looking at, or have been looking after him very well and keeping him in good position. But I think we'll see a big time trial today that will determine, you know, when we go into the final week. It's not going to be all over. We've got a big day tomorrow in the mountains, as you say, the first kind of real big mountain stage, and we get into the second rest day, and after that is, you know, we'll soon be in Milan. But yeah, the rider that's kind of seems to be head and shoulders above everybody at the moment is Brandon McNulty in the GC battle. He's putting a bit of time into the others, but let's see what the likes of Bilbao does at this first time check. Wilco Kelderman and certainly Almeida.
Kelderman, the penultimate rider to go onto the climb here, as we're seeing the Maglia Rosa, Joao Almeida, heading to that moment. Still a little bit of a corner of those football-obsessed Portuguese sports papers. He's in pink. They're really starting to get excited back home. It's been a long, long time since Portuguese cycling had somebody up there in a Grand Tour. I know that Rui Costa was the world champion, wasn't he? But this is new territory for them. Now, Guy Hindley, minute 28 down. Looks like one of those riders who might be losing a little bit of time. Let's have a look at Fulsang at his final check. 2 minutes down on Ganna. But of course, we will be comparing him to McNulty. Bilbao, slower than Micah. 33 down from Ganna. Again, McNulty, for example, taking almost 30 seconds there on Bilbao. A former world junior time trial champion. Wilco Kelderman has not won a time trial for 5 years. It was the national championships of the Netherlands when he was last victorious. But he says he's over his injury problems. He's still 29, and he's riding the best GC at a Grand Tour we've seen probably since the Vuelta 3 years or so ago. Brad Wiggins, it's a big day for him today, isn't it?
It's huge. I mean, this is kind of the second coming of Kelderman, really. You know, he's a couple of years ago he got fourth in the Giro, didn't he? Then you think he got third in the Tour of Swiss. So he's then he left Blanco or whatever team they were at that time, whatever name they were under, and kind of has had a couple of quiet years. But in terms of Grand Tours, this is kind of his second coming now, and he seems to have found a new lease of life with Sunweb, and it suits him, and he's now lying second in the Giro with a week to go.
Yeah, and he's got his next couple of years assured. He's off to Bora Hansgrohe to head up their new, stronger GC team. Well, that's what they hope it will be. And Joao Almeida here is in the skin suit provided by the organisers, let's not forget. Now, this is slightly different to what he's wearing, but he's been in the Maglia Rosa for a long time now. They've known this time trial has been coming up. I guess Bradley's been measured up at some point by the organisers, because this will have been something they'll have been thinking about. Yeah,
and Castelli are kind of, they're a good brand. They make very good speed suits and things. You can imagine that this will be the best suit that Castelli have to offer. So yeah, I can't. It's just, I think it's more when you get into the ASO races and the certain clothing provider there that are a bit pants.
It's good for Almeida at the minute. He's under the Muro di Ca del Poggio, and somewhere along here he might see his parents. They've made the trip over from Portugal. Of course, he can't have any contact with them with all that's going on, but they're there, they're cheering him on. So if you hear a Forza Joao, you know who it might be. I think I've seen a couple of Portuguese flags along the way as well, as the Dutch fans will be willing on Wilco Kelderman. And once we get to the top of here, Brian, we'll have our first look at how everybody's starting and what sort of differences we might be able to start to expect.
Yeah, I think at this stage there's a few riders, possibly the GC riders separated by about 30 seconds, but the interesting one is McNulty still riding well in this time trial, and at the third checkpoint we see Kelderman just coming over the top here in 6th place. So that's good, that's a solid performance from Kelderman there, but
That's 15 seconds slower than McNulty, that point there.
15 seconds, yeah. Looking at McNulty, the way he's riding at the moment, at the third checkpoint, Fuglsang has lost 1 minute and 26 seconds to him.
Wow. And there was 24 seconds between them at the start of the day. In fact, no, 19 seconds. That's the problem with time trial day. I've got numbers in front of me up and down all the time. My maths isn't the best. Here's McNulty. 4Ks to go for him. This has been some ride from the former junior world champion in the time trial. Seen him attacking, haven't we? Remember the stage that played the Sagan one? He was up there and desperate for bonus seconds. Haven't seen too much of Pozzovivo yet, but for the first time check he was going okay. This is a man we're expecting big things from, though. Uncharted territory, though, for him. You know, his longest stage race before this Giro was 10 days. And that was in the under-23 category. I guess this is a voyage of discovery, isn't it, Brad, to see what happens. It's day by day from here. Obviously, he's confident, but at that age, no experience. I guess you don't know what your body's going to do or when it's going to decide that things change.
Yeah, I can't see him really capitulating too much in terms of his physical capabilities. I just think other people will probably go faster, but I can't see him cracking and losing a whole bunch of time, you know, like Simon Yates did a couple of years ago, you know, to that extreme. I just see him being very, very steady, very strong right to the end now. And if he does fall away, I don't think he'll fall much further off the podium or out of the top 5, you know.
The only people falling away there were the fans, you see that? Dear me, I hope he's all right. Now, Vincenzo Nibali, next time check, 17 kilometres in, slower than Masnada. Oh, he's slower than Fuglsang as well, only by a second or so. So Nibali 1 minute and 3 down on Ganna. I guess McNulty won't be an immediate worry for Nibali. McNulty's the worry for Fuglsang because he's going to rise above him. But of course, McNulty starting the day just outside the top 10 at 2:45 down. So he has just over 1.5 minutes to make up to Nibali. So Nibali would be going okay with McNulty. Almeida is flying. Almeida is looking very, very good. Almeida is only 2 seconds slower than Brandon McNulty. And that's the first sign that there might be an increase in the lead for the Maglia Rosa tonight, Brian.
Big performance there, and you could see the numbers he was pushing out there, and you know the watts. He was riding very well on that time trial. I just hope he's not gone too much into the red, but he's pretty experienced at time trialing, and in the first stage, you know, he rode a magnificent time trial. But Brandon McNulty and Almeida seem to be the riders gaining. The other riders not too far away from each other. I think the worst of the GC contenders seems to be Jai Hindley of Team Sunweb, who's losing probably another kind of 30-40 seconds and no the other GC contenders.
This is Theo Gegenhardt. It's just crossed the line. We wait to see if we can get a time for him. We know who's going okay. And an opportunity to head towards the top 10. I think, on feeling, he will be gaining a little bit of time, if not a place in the GC today. I don't think it's been the worst day for him. He started 12th, didn't he, at 2:51. He was just 6 seconds behind this man, but Brandon McNulty looks like being the best of the GC contenders. Just 1 kilometre to go here. A lot of lefts and rights on this time trial as well. A lot of breakups of rhythm. Yeah, but it still has been the specialists, hasn't it, who've been up there?
Yeah, Theo finishes with a time of 45:04, which is 2 minutes and 24 seconds behind Ghana, and pops into 10th place.
Well, McNulty is going to be slower than Ghana and Dennis. We expected that, but it's not going to be too much slower. It is going to be a wonderful performance from Brandon McNulty, one that really sets up a general classification challenge for the final week. And if he continues like this, well, with one time trial left, the podium might even be in sight in Milan. McNulty inside the final 300 metres, absolutely gunning for the line. 22-year-olds from Phoenix in the United States. We have a new American GC star. It's been a long time coming, but here he is. Brandon McNulty, take a bow, because he is right in this Giro d'Italia. Super ride, up there with the Ghent, the best of the rest. Brandon McNulty, UAE, in the mix, and that, Brad Wiggins, is a brilliant, brilliant ride. Only 1:09 slower than Ganna, who was supersonic today.
That was a superb ride, that. Absolutely brilliant. UAE, again, what a crop of youngsters they've got. You know, Brandon really reminds me of, you know, kind of like a young TJ Van Garderen when he came onto the scene, you know, about 10 years ago, and he could time trial, you know, he'd be up there in the Dauphiné and stuff, and kind of didn't ever really fulfill his potential, TJ, but, you know, kind of, he's definitely got that kind of size and ability to time trial and climb at the same time, and what a Giro he's having.
Domenico Pozzovivo was only 3 seconds slower there than his teammate Victor Campenaerts, the world hour record holder. That is quite some performance in the top 20 at the halfway mark, as we are following the Shark.
Yeah, that second time check, there was 10 seconds between Nibali and Pozzovivo, to the benefit of Nibali.
So Nibali seems to have settled down then. Slowish start, but relatively gaining a little on Pozzovivo there. Nibali, by the way, started 5 seconds behind Pozzovivo on the day. This is how it stands at that first intermediate. McNulty third there, Almeida just at 2 seconds as well. Kelderman is the other man in the general classification to look out for. So far, the big winners in the GC from the first of the 3 time checks would be McNulty, who's carried it home and finished it with a good time at the end, then Almeida, and then Kelderman. This is the man who started in the last place on the podium, Pello Bilbao.
On that second checkpoint, the best of the GC riders that have gone through that is McNulty, but then you've got Masnada, Fausto Masnada is setting a good time. Okay, it's only a matter of a few seconds in front of Fuglsang, Nibali, but yeah, it's interesting. He's put probably half a minute into the likes of Conrad and Jai Hindley, so you know, Masnada doing a solid time trial as well.
I've enjoyed watching Bilbao at this Giro. Impressed me after coming out the tour like this. Don't know what you feel about his performance, Brad, but he's a rider I don't think he's taken himself too seriously, but he's given it a good go.
Yeah, he is, and you know, he's had a very good Giro. He's been very steady up to this point, but you know, he is capable on his day of pulling out something quite amazing, really, and you kind of always left wondering a lot of the time whether that's ever going to happen. You know, there's a lot of disappointment. Much like Miguel Angel Lopez, you know.
Yeah.
He kind of, when he does perform, he's fantastic, but he could just be off the boil some days, and you sometimes feel like you get let down by them more watching them because you want them to do so well than their good days.
Same time there as Pozzovivo for Bilbao, but again, just a handful of seconds slower than Campenaerts. And we just got a little glimpse of Geoghegan Hart's time there at that time check, who was quicker than Campenaerts, the world hour record holder. For Bahrain McLaren, it's the first year, isn't it, for Rod Ellingworth in charge. Get the feeling that everyone's just being given an opportunity at the minute to show what they can do. Next year, there'll be a big change. I know that there's a few people leaving the team. There's new riders coming in, aren't there? And as we see the fight for pink here, with 13 seconds between Almeida and Kelderman, I think, yeah, in Bahrain McLaren might see a different approach next year, because I know that Bilbao's had his chance. Pouls is going to get his chance as well to lead at the Vuelta a España. And it'll be the second year where Rod Ellingworth maybe makes more of his stamp on the team, I think. So 13 seconds between them at the minute. Almeida the quicker. And it's a good start for the Portuguese. Looking at his style, Brad, does it tell you anything?
Well, I mean, you know, his head goes down a lot. A lot of riders do now, you know, because they reference him with their power meter a lot of the time, so they're kind of always gauging their effort. Whereas you see Kelderman here, he very rarely puts his head down. He's got a quite good position. You know, a lot of the time it's about making sure you can maintain that position, and if you do look down, it's not too much of a head movement. because, you know, quite often we said Velcro on the back of the helmet and on the back of the skin suit just as a reminder to keep your head in one position, because obviously when you're in the wind tunnel, that's how the whole setup is around you, straight with your head down and your head with the helmet on touching your back and not looking down at a power meter. So it's very difficult in theory and to put it into practice, but when you're out on the road, you know, the most aerodynamic position you can hold for the longest period of time is obviously where you have the least amount of drag and gain the most time.
Oh, it's Jakob Fuglsang finishing there at 3:12 down from Ganna. Of course, the reference point for Fuglsang, Brian, is McNulty. And McNulty leapfrogging him by a long, long way in the GC.
Yeah, it's not been another good day for the Danish rider. And, you know, it means that even more now in the mountains, he has to come out and play.
Now, second time check for Wilco Kelderman. This is where it gets interesting. Castroviejo quicker than him, just 40.9 seconds down on Ganna. Kelderman, one of the day's winners so far.
That's a good time trial so far from Wilco Kelderman. It's only a matter of about 4 seconds slower than Brandon McNulty.
Well, he was a few seconds different to Joao Almeida. Almeida taking half a minute on Nibali as it stands. We're hearing that Theo Geoghegan Hart is probably going to move up. We heard that. Maybe even quicker than Jakob Fuglsang and further up in the GC than him. Now, Nibali's getting better as this time trial goes by. Started as one of the slower guys. He's looking good at the final time check. So it's sort of what we expected, I think. As Brad talked about this from Nibali. Sort of Mr. Consistent here. And Pozzovivo wasn't far off that sort of performance either. I think a little slower, you mentioned, than Nibali, Brian.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at the second time check. He was 10 seconds slower than Nibali. It looks as if Nibali's getting quicker as we go down the course.
Now then, Almeida to Pozzovivo. Every time they've shown us this graphic, they've given us a comparison in time. It's missing for the moment. Of course, the images are coming from the host broadcaster, Italian National Television. Joao Almeida still looking as he did at the start. He's the last rider we're going to get time checks from, obviously. On the podium at the minute, Wilco Kelderman, setting up a good challenge to get there, is this man. Let's hear from Brandon McNulty.
An amazing performance, Brandon. Third at the finish and probably third till the end, because the intermediate time of the other guys, they are far back.
Yeah, I mean, warming up in the trainer, my legs felt really bad, so I didn't know how it would go. And then at the first split, I knew I was right there with Ghana, so and then I knew I was on a good day and just went as hard as I could.
Big step ahead, even in the general classification, probably. You feel a contender for a place on the podium in Milan?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, if I'm able to beat the GC guys on this, I think I'll stand a good chance on the climbs too. And then there's one last TT in Milan, so it's more opportunity for me, I think, especially because it's quite flat. So we'll see.
Well, looking good for Brandon McNulty, Gilberto Simone, Michele Scarponi, Brandon McNulty maybe. Third Giro d'Italia winner for UAE Emirates. There's a long way to go there, especially if this man carries on doing what he's doing. Brad, that looked like a brilliant time yet again from Joao Almeida. 16 Ks to go and he's not disappointing.
No, but much like the prologue we saw there, or the first day, the time trial, you know, there's no hiding in a time trial, and he proved that on stage one. He was right up there, and he's never fell away. He's clearly got a good, good ability in time trialing, and he's producing it again today. And as I said, I've been saying it for the last few days, he's showing no signs of a man who is going to crack in this Giro.
Absolutely brilliant watch, and what a story. I mean, there's so many stories, Brian, that we didn't expect. Of course, we had the big names having to drop out, but it's left space for all these other names to appear, and names you didn't expect. We knew that Almeida was talented, but to take the lead like this, carry it through, the Koenig quick step to ride how they've ridden, And for Pozzo Vivo at 37 to be up there as well. It's absolutely enthralling, this, and we've got those big mountains to come.
He was at that checkpoint there. Almeida was 8 seconds quicker than Brandon McNulty, so looking good for third on the day to the two Ineos riders of Dennis and Ghana. And at that stage, 13 seconds quicker than Wilco Kelderman. So you're looking good for Almeida to increase his lead, but by how much on all of these GC contenders?
Rafael Majka has put in a fairly decent time trial by his standards as well. He's not far off Theo Gegenhardt. We know he's one of those riders who has to limit the losses. Not too far off Biel as well, who would have given his all. This is some ride from Rafael Majka, considering his history in the time trial. 2:36 down. Okay, he's not pulled up any trees. It's probably the best he could have expected. The Maglia Rosa with 15 kilometers to ride. And he's riding very, very well. The Koenig Quick Step in this very strange 2020 where everything has been flipped on his head. No longer stunting stages. They're looking after the Maglia Rosa as if they were the Ineos or the Jumbo-Visma. Incredible. Kelderman, in the meantime, also turning back the clock. As we go to the man who started third at the beginning of the day. Pello Bilbao. Well, he had a lead of 14 seconds on Pozzo Vivo on the podium. Imagine he's looking okay to stay on the podium at the moment, is Bilbao.
Well, at the second time check, they were both 1:13 down, so okay, but I think both of them are losing time, and Brandon McNulty and Kelderman and Almeida.
And look out for this man. Brad already said what we expected from him. Sort of same old, and he's not disappointed. The shark's going to be in the water in the final week in the mountains. Coming up to his territory. And he's won the Giro d'Italia from minutes down before. Doesn't matter too much where he is, he will be there. But he's looking like he's going to be in a decent position. Started 5th at 1:07 from Almeida. He will lose time to the pink jersey, but against his rivals in the top 10, he's looking fairly good. I guess a bigger blow today might be the fact that he's lost Giulio Ciccone. Team down to 6 now. This team, though, at full strength. So Bilbao, latest time check. Not as good as it could have been. Not as good as it could have been. 2:11 down there. From memory, Brian, you'll have to just correct me. I think that's slower than Pozzo Vivo, isn't it?
Yeah, Pozzo Vivo was 2:08, so only a matter of 4 seconds, but to Nibali was 1:53 at that moment. So when you consider that's, 19 seconds, almost 20 seconds that he's lost on Vincenzo Nibali.
So we said the shark was in the water, and he might have been losing time to the pink jersey, but he's on his way to the podium. Interesting that we heard from McNulty that he did get time checks early on and he knew he was on a good day. Glad you talked about what a lonely, long day this might be. But if you're riding well, it feels good. I guess these guys will now, with the final pot to go, they'll know whether they're on their good days or not, won't they?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, that lonely existence on time trial day, you know, you spend so much time with your other teammates and have the security of having your strong unit around you, particularly Almeida here. But days like this, it's down to him. So he's got to repay back all the work his team have done for him. You know, you've got no one to bounce off, no one to ride up beside and just sort of give you some confidence if you've got a right-hand man. It's all, he's got to produce this now. And you can guarantee that all his teammates, Elio Kayser and all these guys that would have gone off early in the day, they'll all be back at the hotel now watching the same images we're watching, listening to me talking for sure, and willing this guy on because, as I said, they've got so much confidence in this guy now, and they're gonna will him home. And as I said, it's for all the lonely existence. This is the loneliest days in time trials, and they'll be watching him.
Big surprise of the day there. Jai Hindley's losing places and losing time. Both he and Full Sang Brian the worst stuff, I think.
Yep, definitely. Jai Hindley shipping a lot of time there. Not too bad here from Kelderman as expected. Still riding strongly on the course. This man here just under 3 minutes to that checkpoint, so we'll get another better indication of how much time he's putting into all the other GC contenders.
Joao Almeida, just over 10Ks to go. Started off with that Palermo performance. This man, though, guys, knows he's done it now, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I think
he's going to be cracking open a few bottles of the stuff that comes from those vines.
Yeah, it's he's got a long wait. Rohan Dennis, I think, knew with the time checks that were coming in. We're just looking down at Kelderman putting just about 40 seconds into Vincenzo Nibali.
So Nibali on his way up probably to the podium, but losing time on second place.
And first place.
Lay of the land tomorrow.
He's moving up in the general classification, but regarding time, he's losing time on both Kelderman and, of course, Almeida.
But I think, as Brad said, we sort of expected that from Nibali today. I think Nibali's probably doing the best time Charlie could do.
Yep, he's. I think if he puts time into the others, and then he's got two riders, Almeida and Kelderman, to kind of concentrate on. We know what he can do in the mountains. Okay, he's lost Ciccone, so they won't have full strength, but yeah, it's setting up nicely. But I still think this man here looks like could be the main favourite on paper going into the last week. It's still the unknown from Almeida. I can't see him blowing up, like Brad says, like Simon Yates did, and he's got the whole team round about him. But you can only think with the history that Kelderman has been up there in the Grand Tour. He's got a history of doing it. He's in good form, and he's shown it. He's in good form. And Sunweb have only lost, one rider. They've still got some good climbing talent, and unfortunately for Jay Hindley, he's kind of slipping down a little bit in the general classification. But Wilco Kelderman is looking good potentially for the win in Milan. It really all depends on this man here and the unknown.
On our way to Valdobbiadene. I was there in 2009 when we had the first ever stage finish there. It was a sprint day that day after a little climb. We'd come from Trieste. And memory serves me right, Mark Cavendish was in the pink jersey as well after they'd taken the team time trial. Alessandro Petacchi won on the day. Of course, 5 years ago we had a time trial. Vasil Kirienka, the year he won the World Time Trial Championship, took the stage, and the year he's taken the World Time Trial Championship, Ganna's going to do the same. Almeida is riding very, very well. Now 7th at the final time check, 1:10 down. How's he looking compared to everybody else, Brian?
Well, he's only put 4 seconds into Wilco Kelderman. So, and we've already said that Kelderman had put 40 seconds into Nibali. So, you have to look at the opportunity here. I can't see there being much of a difference between Wilco Kelderman and Almeida.
Well, 40 seconds at the start of the day. If that can go to 44, it'll be his biggest lead over Kelderman. Of course, Almeida took bonus seconds, didn't he, yesterday? Second place. Kelderman has had a strong team in the mountains, but we've seen the Koenig Quick-Step ride really well with Knox, as well as Masnada. Yesterday, that was such a good ride, wasn't it? Riding to the end there, those climbers on the flat. Bilbao's just hoping to hang on. He's going to lose his podium place, we think, to Nibali today. But as the great man Sean Kelly says, we'll have to make the calculation. Now then, get ready. Nibali up to the finish line. Big moment this in the race, potentially, because it sets up the Shark for an attack or two in the final week. They're the times relative to everybody else. What a time, by the way, from Geoghegan Hart. 45.04. It's going to be a better TT than Nibali for him. But the two-time winner of the Giro d'Italia could well be putting a big foot forward and sowing the seeds for the first ever winner, who's nearly 36. If this man pulls it off in Milan, he'll be the oldest winner ever. Fiorenzo Magni was 35 in 55. here in 2020, Nibali is putting in a good performance. Has he finished it off, though? He's not so much different to Dowsett. He's across the line in 20th place provisionally. It's a 45.34, 2:53 down on the stage winner, Ganna. But the question is, where is he compared to all of the other GC guys? The times intermediate suggest he's moving to the podium. In a few minutes, we'll know exactly where he is. Nibali over the line, 4 more to finish. Brian Smith, where's it put him? Is that Nibali moving up towards the podium, we think?
Well, he's moving up, definitely. He's put 7 seconds into Masnada. And just looking here, 20 seconds in front of Fuglsang. Conrad is a further 38 seconds down. I'm just looking at some of the others, so just give me a few minutes.
Keep going. Brian, Carol Vorderman, Smith. We get him a chalkboard in the corner, do his sums. We can all see them. That's an idea for tonight's breakaway, eh? And catch all the reaction to today's action on the GCN Race Pass and the Eurosport Player. That'll be there. Orla, Brian and Dan Lloyd as well. 4Ks for Pello Bilbao. But I guess that if you've missed time or misjudged your effort, this is where you're going to pay for it, because of this climb towards the end, then the descent. That's another thing about the time trial. You really, really have to know how to spread your effort out.
Yeah, but you carry a lot of speed into this last climb, and to be honest, if you've gauged your effort well, like most of the riders would have done in this thing, you're not going to lose a lot of time really, because everyone's sort of flagging by this point. You know, it's about distribution of your effort over the whole thing, and if you've got that right, there's not going to be, you know, you shouldn't have much left at the end of this sort of any sort of time trial really. It's just more a case of maintaining the power and just holding on to it. So you shouldn't really die off too much, but you shouldn't be able to raise it. If you're able to raise it, then you've not really distributed you've not done it right.
Well, here is Pozzovivo with that awful elbow injury still carrying. Awkward stance on the bike, but look, good ride this has been yet again. Really good stuff from Domenico Pozzovivo. Coming into the final 400 metres around this corner. Pozzovivo alive and kicking, going into the last 7 stages of the Giro d'Italia, and his favoured terrain in the mountains. Talk about Nibali maybe being the oldest winner. Don't count out this man. 37 years of age. Pozzovivo, who's never won the pink jersey. His last stage win coming 8 years ago, and here he is fighting for the overall honours. Injured, battered, bruised, out the Tour with a crash, back in the Giro d'Italia. Hat off to Domenico Pozzovivo. He's not far off Nibali here, a few seconds worse off, but Pozzovivo is very much alive in the race. 3:01 down on Ganna. Well, Brad, just take your hat off to this man, because I can't believe what a brilliant Giro he's having.
Yeah, and to be honest, even I thought he was probably done, you know, a year or two ago, but you know, he keeps coming up with it every year, always at the Giro as well. But this man, I think he's having the ride, I would say the ride of his life, but he's certainly against his GC guys. He's doing the best performance possible. And it's not always easy when you've got the weight of the leader's jersey on your shoulders, as we saw with Roglic at the Tour de France. You know, it can be quite daunting going off last, and you know, particularly with the likes of the guys that have been setting the pace ahead of him. There's been some incredible quick times, and obviously the time checks he's getting, you've got to be careful that Ganna's out the question. You know, your checks aren't against Ganna. Your time checks are against the likes of Kelderman, Nibali, Fuglsang. So there's 2 races going on here.
Wilco Kelderman is very much in the GC race. We know McNulty is right up towards the top. He's heading towards the podium from outside the top 10. Nibali's there or thereabouts. Almeida putting 13 seconds into Kelderman according to this graphic. And Almeida on his way to Maglia Rosa number 12. All before he gets to the age of 23. You know, only Eddy Merckx and Damiano Cunego have won the Maglia Rosa as many times as this man before the age of 23. Both ended up winning the Giro d'Italia. and of course in shape of Eddie Merckx, went on to being something extremely special indeed. So Kelderman is following on behind. Bilbao is into the final kilometre. 3 riders to come over the line now.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the times. Most of the GC contenders are around about kind of 45 seconds of each other, but it does look as if definitely Almeida and possibly Kelderman are going to put at least a minute and a half into the rest of the GC contenders, and it looks like Almeida could be putting at least a minute and 40 into Nibali.
We'll get our first look at what that means for the control of the race. The setup for the mountain stages tomorrow, remember, as we go to Piancavallo. But here is Pello Bilbao, and he's still going to be there or thereabouts. He's still going to be in the mix. He's still going to be a contender for this Giro d'Italia. On the time trial day, he's going to be slower than Zakharin. Not so far off Dowsett. But Pello Bilbao, who started the day on the podium, will be losing a bit of time and places today. Well played, though. Pello Bilbao, 2:53 down on Ganna. Only Kelderman and Almeida to come across the line.
So exactly the same time, roughly, as down in Ganna to Nibali, so 2:53. Same as Nibali, so he hasn't lost anything.
Well, Nibali then, not going on the podium today. Interesting, those time checks. Different people gaining and losing over different parts of the course. Here is Almeida, who'll be hoping to keep going what he's done so far. Almost over the last bit of climbing. Just that final 400 metres or so to the line now for Wilco Kelderman. After this descent from San Martino. Pipo Ganna is going to win the stage. There's no doubt about that. That is a done deal. But it's the fight for pink that we're watching here. One more time trial after this. The flat one in Milan a week tomorrow. He's going to be slower than McNulty. But Wilco Kelderman here has rolled back the years and has found the time trial form that he first brought onto the scene. We thought this man was going to be on the way to challenge for Grand Tours throughout the end of his 20s. Injuries, lack of form, off moments prevented that. But he's 29 now, and he's right back into the swing of things. Wilco Kelderman is here. Wilco Kelderman is challenging, and he's going to come to the line on the podium, putting time into rivals. The Dutchman, former national time trial champion, hasn't won a race for 5 years, but he's getting closer and closer. A really good ride from Kelderman. 8th place on the day, 1:47 down, and Pipo Ganna knows he's done it. Kelderman's there. What about the Maglia Rosa? Remember, they set off at 3-minute intervals towards the end. Almeida was 13 seconds up the last time we had a look. 2.2 kilometres to go. That Palermo performance really set the tone. Close to the pink jersey. Took it after a couple of days and is heading for day 12 in the lead of the Giro. His first year on the World Tour, first Grand Tour. We know that this year's been about the young riders breaking onto the senior scene. We expected it to be another young man for the Koenig Quick-Step here. We were wondering whether Evenepoel was going to do an Evenepoel to everybody else. He crashed in Lombardy. Almeida was supposed to be one of his support riders. He stepped up to the plate brilliantly. Just up until a couple of years ago, apparently he still had Rui Costa posters on his wall. The former Portuguese world champion. There's the current time trial world champion, and yes, we know it. The Ineos Grenadiers are going to take stage number 4 of this Giro. Ganna is going to have a hat-trick. But for now, we look at the Maglia Rosa. It's all about every single second here. Controlled the bike well, He's put the effort in. He's got one more effort to go as he comes round these last two corners. It's the final 400 metres. He'll swing around here, up to the line, and look at the lead he has. 1 minute and 28 here. It's going to tick down to just less than a minute, I think. He had 40 seconds at the start of the day, and Almeida is looking to lead by around a minute here. Let's look. He's got 150 metres to go. It's been a brilliant ride by the Portuguese. Filippo Ganna has won the stage. It's Super Pippo for the third time. A hat-trick for the man from the Ineos Grenadiers. But the Koenig Quick-Step are a GC team already. And here's their new leader. It's a lead for a 12th day for Joao Almeida. 1:30 down on the stage winner. 6th place on the day. The Maglia Rosa looking every bit a serious Giro d'Italia contender. And Bradley Wiggins, you've done this in the leader's jersey. Almeida looking very good as well.
Yeah, that was a superb ride. Winning a Grand Tour is just about being, 95% every day throughout. It's not about having any great days, but it's also not about having any really bad days. It's just about consistency, and that's all he's been showing right through this race, is just that consistency every day. He's not had any super remarkable performance. When he's lost time, he's only lost fractions of time, and that time trial there was just brilliant for a young man like that. First Grand Tour. You'd think he was 30 years of age. The composure he shows, and his demeanour and the way he is, his body language, is every bit a champion already.
Joao Almeida in pink. He will be in pink tomorrow, and Brian, his margin now will be almost a minute. It's been a good day for him, good day for Kelderman. What's your impression of the GC battle? I know you've got your little numbers and sums that you've done just in front of you.
Well, just in, a few of the GC contenders, just put into perspective the ride of Brandon McNulty. He actually took 21 seconds out to Almeida in that performance today. So, hats off to McNulty, the only rider that actually gained time on the pink jersey. But Nibali 124 loss, Fuglsang 143 loss, and Pozzovivo 131 loss.
Filippo Ganna, the stage winner over Rowan Dennis. Stage 14 finishes. Thankfully, the rain held off after those clouds hung around the Prosecco Hills. Top 30 on your picture there. That's Fuglsang all the way down at 3:13. Pozzovivo, Masnada, Nibali there as well. Bilbao a second quicker than Nibali. But in the GC battle, it's going to be really, really interesting. And there's going to be a different look about it as we head to the mountains tomorrow from these hills.
Filippo,
here's the winner.
One more victory. Are you proud of this one?
Yeah, every victory is important for me, and in this Giro we have a really strong team. We win everywhere, and we are really happy.
The first time trial was perfect for you. What about this one today with the climb? It was very steep. How did you feel there?
In the start, I think, okay, we have 1K, but it's 5 minutes climb, and it's not really easy. But we have jumped this climb, and they finished the leg is really, really well, and so arrive better and better, and they finish just to check to cross the line.
Big mountains coming up. Are you scared?
I hope in the sun, but it's hard. we say to save energy to arrive to Milano, but also don't have too much cold, and try to cover better and better for save the energy.
Because there will be one more time trial.
Yeah, we have one more race with the goal.
Well done, thank you.
Joao Almeida extends his lead in the Maglia Rosa to 56 seconds. Pello Bilbao is at 2 minutes and 11. 2:11 now between first and third. There wasn't even that between first and 10th before today. McNulty from 11th to 4th. Nibali stays 5th but is at 2:30. The GC's very different. And Theo Geoghegan Hart, despite losing time to the Maglia Rosa, is now just one place right at the gates to the top 10. Brendan McNulty, the big GC winner. Joao Almeida extends his lead. Well, a big day, Brian. Big changes, and I guess we'll get a good look at it tomorrow on the way to Piancavallo, what it means for the race, who now controls, and where different teams have to mount their challenges from.
Yeah, I think this is the weekend that everybody was waiting for. We knew there would be some changes. Not a lot of changes for most of the riders, but yeah, we'll get a better indication of what the riders will have to do yet again tomorrow in the mountains.
Well, it's going to open it up because a lot of riders now really know they'll need to attack. And Cavallo, not the most difficult of climbs on which to do that, but it's the start of what we see tomorrow. We head up into the northeast very quickly, actually. We'll go to Friuli tomorrow. We'll start from an Air Force base. The Freccia Tricolore, the Italian version of the Red Arrows, if you like. Starting from Rivolto, where they have the air base, where they're all based, and finishing in Piancavallo. Pippo Ganna will do that with 3 stage wins under his belt. Ineos Grenadiers have their 4th. They've rebounded better than ever after the disappointment at losing Geraint Thomas. A big day on so many different ways. And I think we're going to go and get the view in a moment of our very own expert. We saw Bernie Eisel giving his preview to the day. And GCN Eurosport's very own Austrian expert, Bernie Eisel, is there to give us his verdict on the day.
Today's time trial didn't bring the big shake-up, but nobody expected it. But definitely we see that Joao Almeida is in some superb form, and Filippo Ganna is absolutely unbeatable when it comes to time trialing and when he's up on the road. That was some class. 42, 40, nearly 48 average on this parcours. It was hard, I can tell you, because I rode it to the finish here. It was definitely some really, really hard time trial. We have also seen Pozzovivo didn't lose much time. He did a really good time trial for him. He's not the best time trialer. For a climber, he did excellent. And that also brings him up there in, there's a car coming. But at the same time, Vincenzo Nibali, he lost a little bit too much time, for my opinion. He also didn't want to give in to us. He went straight to the hotel. Wilco Kelderman is definitely one of the guys who he is one of the big favorites at the moment. Did an excellent time trial today, and he's about a minute behind Joao Almeida at the moment. So definitely in contention for the Maglia Rosa tomorrow. But again, big day tomorrow, finish up in Piancavallo. There's a lot of vertical gain tomorrow, over 4,000 meters of climbing. It's going to be a big, big day for all of them, and let's hope the weather stays dry.
Let's hope it stays dry indeed. Interesting looking at Nibali there, maybe going away, not wanting to give interviews. You look at the first part of his time trial, not great. The middle was very good. It's the end where he struggled. Let's go back and see what you might have missed. .1 kilometers between Conegliano and Valdobbiadene. Maglia Nera last in the Giro d'Italia. Jonathan Dibben was first to start. It was a very nasty moment for Sebastian Molano, who crashed. The question is, will he make the time limit after finishing 15 minutes down? Matthias Brandle was the early leader. Austrian national champion for Israel Startup Nation, setting 45.23. Victor Kapanarts would take the throne from him. 44.46 as the times got quicker. But enter Rowan Dennis on his best day, most probably since leading and then winning the World Championship in Harrogate. 43.06. But to break the sound barrier, Super Pippo Ganna turned up again. The only man to go under 43 minutes, riding to a 42.40 and winning his third stage of this Giro d'Italia. Fight for the pink jersey was what we were all looking forward to after that, and Joao Almeida was the last to start. McNulty, the huge gainer as far as the GC went. Best of the rest on the day, just beating Thomas de Gent. 43.49, really good from the American. He was on his way to the top 5 in the GC as Fulsang was losing a lot of time. 3:12 down. Vincenzo Nibali started poorly. His middle was brilliant, and then he sort of tailed off a little again towards the end. 45.34, and off straight back to the hotel. Wilco Kelderman refound his best form, and he's right up there in the shape at just less than a minute from the lead of the Giro d'Italia. And Joao Almeida, look at that, 56 seconds in the lead. 6th place in the TT, a 12th day in the Maglia Rosa. Supersonic Super Pippo. Ganna winning the stage. Week 2's coming to an end. We've got some mountains first. Let's see what's on the menu.